This is Jocko Podcast number 527 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
When I arrived at headquarters early that Friday morning, the closest parking lot was already crowded. By the time we held our first formation, every lot was full and trucks lined the sides of the road. As I made my rounds that weekend, I saw soldiers sleeping outside in the rain while they practiced fieldcraft, repairing vehicles with scavenged parts, and building logistics plans for our deployment. There were plumbers turned medics, electricians turned mortarmen, financial advisors turned staff planners, all putting their life on hold for 3 days to train, to fight, and win our nation's wars. All doing it without pay, all doing it without hot meals, all doing it without complaint or expectation of recognition. All doing it because it's their job. Because not doing it would let someone down. Because letting someone down later might mean someone dies. And that right there is an excerpt from an article by Nathan Fry, who is a U.S. Army infantry officer. He's a ranger, a battalion commander currently of the 3172 Infantry, which is Mountain of the Vermont National Guard, which is a relative, I guess, of the 1172 Task Force Sabre, the amazing unit that we fought alongside in Ramadi, whose lessons that we learned from them kept many SEALs alive. And Nathan is a veteran of multiple combat deployments, a mountain guide, and an entrepreneur. And it's an honor to have him with us here tonight to share his experiences and lessons learned. Nathan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What did I miss in that? How do you say the 3172? How do you say it?
3172.
Cool.
Yeah. Or
and then do you
we call it the Mountain Battalion too.
Okay, check. See, there you go.
Like
the Mountain Battalion.
Mountain Battalion.
Check. Yeah. Right on. Well, we'll get into some of the Mountain Battalion in a little bit. Let's get a little bit of your background. Tell us about growing up. Where were you born?
I was born in Alabama. So my dad was a Vietnam veteran. He'd come back and use his GI Bill to go to college, and like one of those just classic sort of post-war success stories, right? Like his dad had been a Greyhound bus mechanic. His mom was this old school, right? Like AT&T telephone operator,
Check.
like the switchboard operator, like pop, pop, put the switches in. So he's the first person from his family to go to college. He got a degree.
Was he from Alabama?
No, he's from Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
He ended up working for the VA Medical Center down in Alabama. Well, I guess I got to get my times right. He ended up being in a VA Medical Center in Louisiana first. That's where he met my mom. Mm-hmm. Then they went to Alabama, and then that's how I was born. Eventually went back to Louisiana.
And what did your dad do in Nam?
He was a loadmaster on C-130s. So he got drafted in 68, it would have been. And so he was over in Vietnam, like 69, 70 time frame. Mm-hmm. As he told me after I graduated airborne school, kicking pukes like you out of the back of my airplane. So I was like, thanks, Dad. Appreciate that.
Sounds like a good plan. And then what was it like growing up? You got one brother?
Yeah, I got a younger brother, Corey, 5 years younger than me. So we weren't super close. It's been really cool just in the last year or so. We're starting to like have a common business endeavor, and our lives are intersecting in ways that like it really didn't before. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to get closer now. But growing up, we're not super close with each other. But,
5 years is a pretty good gap.
It's a big gap, and we're really different too. And I'm finding now like in very complementary ways. But at the time, when you're 5 years apart and you're 13 and 8. You don't appreciate that stuff, right? You're just like, oh, that kid's a nerd. He's not a nerd. But yeah, so I grew up super rural. Ended up getting sort of a special pass to go into the school in town, as we'd say. Like, we got to go in town to the Walmart or whatever. So go to school in town. And so what I ended up doing is my dad would drive me in and drop me off at school. I'd do school, and then he'd pick me up in the evening. I'd go back to the house and, do the chores around the house and stuff. So I was kind of...
Where was this? Was this still in Alabama, or is this...
No, this is back in Louisiana at this point.
Okay,
yeah, I was in Alabama only for like 2 or 3 years.
Got it.
And then back...
So this is in Louisiana. Yeah. You're living in the sticks.
In the sticks.
And your parents wanted you to go to a better school or something like that?
Yeah.
So you're driving 30 minutes.
Driving like 30 minutes into school because my dad worked in town too. And so it was... I was lucky to go to school, but sort of limited in the extracurricular things. Mm-hmm. And really what that ended up doing for me is sort of like early on in high school, pretty isolating. I started getting in with a really bad crowd. Got kicked out of school for a week, and I think
what'd you do to get kicked out of school for a week?
Smoking on the railroad tracks after school. And we're like, oh, it's, you're at that age, you're like, yeah, it's fine, they're not going to get me, it's after school, and you don't know the rules. And so we're smoking cigarettes on the railroad tracks, and the assistant principal pops out and he's like, you and you, principal's office. Great. But that's kind of like a low point. And my dad at that point, I think to his credit, realized that I needed something in my life. And a guy he worked with ran a Boy Scout troop, and he was like, you're going to join Boy Scouts. And I was like, I don't want to join the nerd Boy Scouts. But the two Scoutmasters were super cool. Like, essentially became my first mentors. Like, one was a former collegiate wrestler, one was a marathoner, and they basically just like, they taught us about discipline and said, look, if you're going to go on these trips, you got to be able to run 2 miles. I never run 2 miles before, right? But beginning every scout trip, the scout meeting, like, go out and run 2 miles, and eventually we could. And then we ran 3, and then we ran 4. So it was really formative for me.
And so you're launched into Boy Scouts, and it's funny you said nerds, because in my mind I always want to envision Boy Scouts as a paramilitary organization for youth. Like, that's, and I know it's not like that, especially anymore. Like, I don't even think it's Boy Scouts anymore.
Scouts.
I think it's just Scouts.
Yeah.
So that's different. And then, like, what are you into besides the Boy Scout thing? Because weren't you into like music and that kind of thing too?
Yeah.
So what's going on with that?
That was the other thing. So, and this is all, it's like sort of coincided with each other. I got in my head that I was going to be like, because I lived in the sticks and, country music and sort of, that was just the culture I was in. And so I think after that sort of spiral and getting kicked out of school for a week, I was like, I need to find something different. And so I picked up the bass guitar. It's like air quotes. I was not very good. Like, 4 or 5 power chords would play any punk song you want to. Yeah, you're good to go. So, like, playing bass guitar in a really terrible punk band in my friend's garage, and thinking about like being countercultural and breaking the rules and such. But yeah, so we was doing that and doing Scouts. And
so you were like in a punk rock band and in the Boy Scouts at the same time.
Yeah.
What were your punk rock influences?
Like the bands?
Yeah.
I love NoFX.
Okay.
Yeah. NoFX was like, I think one of the first punk bands I listened to. And then I was never like Dead Kennedys guys, like I was like not melodic enough, but then and we were talking about this earlier, right? Like the mid to late 90s was like this debut of like bubblegum pop punk. So you have like Blink-182 Dude Ranch comes out, Weezer's coming out, and like that was, that's what we get together and we would just like play Offspring and Blink-182 because it was easy. Yeah.
And you're in the Boy Scouts at the same time.
Boy Scouts at the same time. Yeah.
Check. And this kind of gets you into just doing the outdoors type stuff. You're rucking. Well, before it was rucking, when it was just called hiking.
Yeah. I had this. I remember like distinctly getting a Cabela's catalog in the mail one day. Because I hunted with my uncles.
And it's like the coolest thing ever.
Oh, it was amazing because like it's got the pictures of the Rocky Mountains and there's these goats and I'm like, wait, there's snow and the ground actually goes up and like there's places like this. And so I got my driver's license. I was 16 years old and I'm like, okay, what's the closest mountains? And I don't even know how I found it because there's like no Google search at this point. But somehow I figured out like, oh, it's the Ozarks in Arkansas. So my parents, to their credit, were like, yeah, you and your friend is my buddy Dave Melikar, who later went to the Army as well, and now he's a diplomatic security service guy. So we still stay in touch, and probably because of this trip, so we load the car up. We drive all the way up to northwestern Arkansas and like unload, and I swear to you, like we unload in the parking lot, and someone's playing a banjo, like Deliverance, and we both kind of look at each other and we're like, what have we done? But then we spent like 3 or 4 days just out backpacking on these trails, and it was just so liberating for me. It was like, wow, like you can go out and sort of be on your own and, cook and make your own decisions. And I think after that was just like the mountains are my thing. And so I would drive, I don't know, it was 10, 12 hours at Big Bend National Park over in Texas. We started like learning how to climb. And by that, I mean like rappelling off grain silos with like marine ropes. And I was like, I can't believe that I'm still alive, because when I started learning how to climb, I was like, we were totally hooking those ATCs up the wrong way. Yeah, that was the beginning of it. That was high school, like grain silos and road trips and Boy Scouts.
And so what was your plan as you looked at your future? You're like, okay, I'm in high school. Obviously, I'm going to graduate at some point. What am I going to do next? What was your plan?
Get out of Louisiana.
And how was the best way to do that?
I didn't know, right? And my dad, again, to his credit, was like, "You're gonna go to college, right? Like this was something, I've worked hard. You're gonna do it, But we didn't have the money to do anything out of Louisiana. At the time, what was it called? The like STAR program or something. But if you had a certain GPA, you get free tuition to LSU. It was a good school, right? And so everyone was doing that, and I was like, I am not staying in Louisiana. I'm not going to Baton Rouge. Like, I got to find something different. So I went to my guidance counselor, and she said, well, there's this place called West Point, and it's free. And I was like, oh, it's free. How does that work? And she's like, we have to join the Army. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I get in my head, I'm like, I'm going to go to West Point. So go through all the things and got accepted. And when people heard that I'd been accepted at West Point, they were like, you are going to West Point. And this is like, I think I wrote about this in like a little pre-brief thing. I mean, this is freshman year. I guess it was sophomore year at this point, after I got kicked out for smoking and, kind of reform myself. But now I'm a reform punk. And so I had dyed my hair black and spiked it up. And, the principal comes to me and is like, you can't have your hair black and spiked. It's distracting. And I was like, it's my constitutional right, to wear my hair up. And so I write this treatise, like I researched it, like all this stuff, like referencing why it was my constitutional right, freedom of expression, to wear my hair up. And the founding was, if I'm distracting with my black spiked hair, then every young woman in the school who's wearing tight pants is distracting too, so they need to wear skirts. And it didn't fly. And they were like, cool, thanks for this. Take your hair down. But like that sort of rebellion thing persisted. And so, when I was like, oh, I'm going to West Point, people were like, there's no way you're going to make it. Like, it's not going to happen.
But you went.
But I went. And I guess I didn't make it. I don't know.
How did you visit West Point before you went?
No.
Did you watch any programs or anything about West Point?
No. I mean, this was there was no, I guess the internet was super rudimentary at this point. I remember I had a catalog. You would get like college catalogs, and I had this thick sort of book that had pictures and the cadets are marching in uniform. Like, man, it was like totally different than anything I'd ever seen in Louisiana, right? Like, I mean, we eventually got a house, but first part of my life, I grew up in a trailer, right? Like, and so I'm looking at these gray stone buildings, looks like castles, towering above the Hudson, and of course they take in pictures when it's the leaves are orange, and I'm like,
beautiful.
Oh my gosh, this is like a storybook. Like, this is gonna be amazing. There's mountains, so of course I'm like, mountains. I can go over there and like be on the climbing team. It's gonna be great. And so I was stoked. And then I got there, and like some of it was really, really good. Like, I really liked the challenge of it, but the whole like punk rock Nate was just totally tweaked out. Like, wait, you're telling me I have to do this, I have to do that. Like, I can't study. I wanted to study foreign languages, want to study Russian, I want to go to Russia. Again, don't ask me how. It's just my fixation was like, what's the opposite of Louisiana? Oh, it's Russia. And you get up there, and they're like, no, you can't really do that. And there's no international relations at the time. The closest thing was what they called Apple, arts, philosophy, and literature. Like, that's what you're like, oh, you're an Apple major. And it was very derogatory.
That sounds very derogatory.
Like, Apple. So I was like, I don't know what I do, but I can't do this. Like, this is not what I expected out of college career. And, man, I wish I could find him, but to his credit, my English professor was this guy named Colonel Schmidt. He was an A-64 pilot. He'd been in the Gulf War, and he was an ROTC graduate.
What year is this?
This is 2002, 2003.
Okay, so the war's going on straight up.
Yeah, in March. Yeah, in March of that year, right? And so like we're all like, okay, this is for real. Like, we could graduate and end up going to war, and so at some point I went to Colonel Schmidt, and I was like, I don't know what this is. Maybe I'm going to go enlist. I don't know. And he said, have you ever tried ROTC? And I was like, what is that? And he just looks at me. He's like, oh, you poor, dumb country bumpkin. So he tells me about ROTC, and I'm like, oh, wait, I can go to a college where I can study what I want and do this at the same time. It's like, absolutely. So I applied to Dickinson College. I kind of did a search. I was like, best Russian programs. And Dickinson like stars aligned. It was like they have a great RTC program, a great Russian program. And I remember spring break, I went down and met the RTC professor of military science, and he was like, "We'd love to have you." So I applied, and at the time, thankfully, like scholarships are pretty plentiful, and so got a scholarship and transferred from West Point.
And there was no stigma for you going down to the ROTC place. Like, yeah, I'm at West Point, but I don't like it. They weren't like, well, why would you like ROTC? Why would you like the Army if you don't like West Point, the pinnacle of Army? Yeah,
I don't remember that. I mean, maybe I just explained it really well. I mean, it's pretty clear because I was also doing well there, and I think that was the weird thing. It's not like I was failing and like crying in my bunk. And I remember my company first sergeant, cadet first sergeant came to me and he's like, "Why are you doing this? Like, why are you throwing away this opportunity?" And I was like, "It's not what I want." So I think going down there, probably with the grades that I had and the performance evaluations that I had, like the professor of military science, who I still keep in touch with, Colonel Mazzarella, we call him the Maz. So, the Maz looked at that and to his, he was like, "Yeah, you seem like a good cadet."
Was he the West Point guy or the RTC guy?
No, this is the RTC guy, yeah.
And did any West Point people, as you were like, "Hey, I'm going to go do ROTC," was everyone, I would imagine guys would be like grabbing you by the scruff and saying like, "Dude, what are you doing? Why are you leaving it? This doesn't make any sense."
Yeah, that's my company first sergeant. I wish I could remember his name. But he sat me down and had a long talk with me. But I mean, Nate Fry, one of my flaws is like once I make up my mind, I kind of make up my mind. And I guess it's a blessing and a curse there. And so I'd sort of made up my mind at this point and was like, no, I'm going to do it. I think it was the right call in the end though.
Yeah, it is very interesting that you can get commissioned by doing 4 years, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year at one of the service academies. Or you can go to ROTC, which is like 4 years where you're part-time soldiering. Or you can just do OCS, which is 13. That's what I did, 13 weeks, but I was a prior enlisted guy. Yeah. And you can get the same commission out of every one of those completely different scenarios. And I guess it makes sense that if you were not into it, but you were still performing well. So what'd you end up doing? 1 year at West Point?
Yeah, I finished my freshman year, plebe year, and then transferred after that down to Dickinson. Yeah, I think the commissioning sources are, they've all got their strengths and weaknesses. And I like that. There's a lot of diversity there, and some people I think are really fit for the academies. Some for ROTC and some for OCS. Like it just kind of depends on where you're at. So I think our commissioning program is awesome.
Yeah, I worked with just outstanding officers from West Point and from the Naval Academy, and I work with terrible officers from the West Point and the Naval Academy, and I work with great guys from OCS and terrible guys from OCS and great guys from ROTC. It's really about the human and not about the training that you went through or whatever the commissioning program that you got. Yeah. So now are you looking at your Army career? What did you decide to do with your Army career as you're getting ready to any other before I get to that? So you go to college 4 years, 3 years now. Yep. And you're studying Russian?
Yeah, I studied Russian. And it was exactly what I wanted it to be because I got a chance to go to Russia. And this was sort of these crazy days after, Putin had sort of just come into power. There was a lot of openness. I mean, there's talk about at this time, like Russia might join NATO. It was nuts. And so, we go over there and I went twice almost for a total of almost a year between the two times I was over there. And it was just eye-opening for me, again, this is like some progression of from Alabama to Louisiana to West Point to Pennsylvania. And now like to go and sort of be on your own in Russia.
Where in Russia were you?
In Moscow. I ran, my house, my apartment, I was staying with a host family, and I would get up in the morning and go run through Red Square, right? Like past Lenin's tomb, past St. Basil's Cathedral, down, through the gates of the Kremlin. And it was crazy, right? It was like know-nothing country kid running through the middle of Moscow. It was probably super dangerous. I just didn't even know. But yeah, I spent all this time there and really, I think for the first time, learned about other cultures and that people completely see different aspects of the world than you do, right? Like there was this pivotal experience I write about in my Substack post, but I got knocked out by a Russian kickboxer, and I was teaching my operations officer, Phil Bourne, is cringing right now because I've told this story like a gajillion times. I'm like, to the lieutenant, I'm like, all right, let me tell you about the time. But like the short version of it is I was teaching at this Russian high school, like an internship, and the kids sort of tricked me to go down and to do like combatives with them. And they paired me against this like 2-time state champion kickboxer. And he knocked me out, right? Like flat out knocked me out. And the way it was sort of set up though, it's when I realized after that, I was like, I thought that these people were my friends. The reality is they see me as a competitor because I'm American. And I think that was the first time it was like really eye-opening for me as a cadet to understand that like the world is a competitive place, and that me in that ring with that Russian kid was like a tactical proxy for the geopolitical strategic struggle between the United States and Russia. And yeah.
Had you ever trained before?
No. I mean, I did like plebe boxing at West Point, and I like wrestled club at West Point. So I was like, I knew some basic takedowns, and I could like knew the difference between like a jab and a cross.
Was it an MMA fight, or was it a?
It was Rukopashka. So it was the way it was all set up. I thought we were just like rolling in the gym. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna go down here, and I get down to the gym, and there's like an MMA ring set up with one dude in it, and I'm the other guy.
Did you wear gloves?
I go down in like shorts and a t-shirt, and they give me a gi, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'll put this gi on.
Like a sambo scenario.
Yeah. It was Russian called Rukopashka. It's like Russian kickboxing.
Did you wear pants?
Yeah. So pants and a top. And then they put me in a ring and put these gloves on. I'm thinking they're boxing gloves, but they're like fingers.
gloves,
they've got fingers in them. I've never seen this before. And then I tried to do a single leg takedown on this kid, and he just kneed me in the head and knocked me out. I had no chance. But ask me later about how that translates over to Russian invasion of Crimea and Ukraine, and like it's all a thing.
Because it's all a thing.
It's all like Nate Fry's strategy. Or Nate Fry's understanding of Russian strategy, right? Which I formulated in the years after getting knocked out by a Russian kickboxer, and then saw it play out in Crimea. Like step number one is lull you into false sense of security, which is what those kids did to me. Like, oh, we're all friends. We're going to go down and roll together, right? Russia did that to us basically from 2000 till 2014. So the next thing is back you into a position that you can't get out of without embarrassing yourself. Like that was the initial invasion into Crimea, and Russia's kind of like, what are you going to do? You're really going to attack us, nuclear armed power? And the West is like, I don't know, right? So now we're backed into a corner. Fast forward, 8 years later, like there's the invasion of Ukraine because they had put us in the corner that we couldn't get out of. And the last thing is fight dirty, which is what they did. It was like, I think we're rolling and having fun. And the reality is like they're putting me, inexperienced little me, against a 2-time Russian state champion, right? So fight dirty. That's the little green men. That's all the disinformation. The political disinformation that's happened in countries throughout Europe and the United States. So like that's the Russian playbook, and they did it to me as a kid there, and as it was unfolding over the course of years here, I was like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's not a bad plan. It's an effective plan.
It worked.
I should say.
Yeah, it worked.
So as you're going through, spend a year in Russia. What'd you study in college?
Russian.
Just Russian.
Yeah.
And then you graduate. What's your plan? What job did you want to have in the Army?
I want to be an infantry officer.
Okay.
So it's like that's the thing everybody wants to do. So yeah, I want to be an infantry officer. Got my branch, went to officer basic course, and then got a chance to go to Ranger School.
Any challenges in the basic course?
No, I think it was pretty straightforward at the time. At the time, officer basic course was more of a prep for Ranger School type things, like pre-Ranger School. And Ranger was really the capstone event, I think, for us at that time. This is 2006, 2007.
Okay.
No, I thought it was really solid. And I think, as we get later to talking more about what I'm trying to do now with training, I think that was in many ways a big influence on me. Is like I had really good high quality training as a cadet, as an infantry lieutenant, as a or Bullock student, as a Ranger School student, and you just see like the power of training and how it can be transformative. And you know that from all your SEAL training. It's like training matters.
Yeah, I had James Webb on the podcast, and he was in class of 1968, whatever the big popular class from the Naval Academy. But he went from there, went to the basic school, went to infantry officer school, and took 9 days of leave and then went to Vietnam. They brought him out in the field. They pointed at a ridge top, and they're like, your platoon is up there. The previous platoon commander had been killed or wounded or whatever was gone. Walked up there, linked up with his guys, met his platoon sergeant. And then that night he's doing like combined arms fire because they're in a massive gunfight. And I said, did you feel like you were ready? And he's like, I was ready, which is amazing. Yeah. And it also shows you that at that point in the war, you had enough experienced guys that had been in combat to then be able to teach combat, which, by the way, isn't necessarily a one-to-one transfer, because there's some people that have been in a lot of combat, but they might not be the best teachers of combat. It's kind of like there's some people that are really good at jiu-jitsu, but they're not the best teachers. So you got to find someone that has done it, was good at it, and then has the ability to teach it. And clearly the Marine Corps at that time was able to get him trained up. And you must have had a bunch of combat experienced guys teaching you if it was 2006.
2007. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's I even look back to ROTC, right? So our senior military instructor was Master Sergeant Greg Kuhn, SF guy, had done multiple deployments with them. The professor of military science was had been a Kiowa pilot in the first Gulf War, right? So they're like, these guys knew what was up, and they knew the value of training, and they invested us and trained us seriously. And they had the same thing going to Officer Basic Course. Like a lot of them had, they had done the first wave of OEF, or they had done some OAF, and then they were coming back and taking a break and training us. And I mean, it was serious. We felt the burden.
And it's also crazy, and I've seen this, how fast all those combat experienced guys are gone. It doesn't take long before you're in a class where you're supposed to be learning combat techniques, and there's no instructor that's been in combat. It doesn't take long for that to transpire either. So then you go Ranger School. Mm-hmm. Did you prep for Ranger School in any special way? Probably
Too much. I don't know, spoiler alert, fast forward, I think I thought about it nonstop for 3 years, and I dated my wife through college, and then we got married right after college. And so she kind of seen the whole journey, and she came to me at graduation, and my oldest daughter was a couple months old at the time, because I basically had the kid and then went to Ranger School, and was like, bye.
Graduation from Ranger School?
Yeah, graduation from Ranger School, right. So my wife shows up, with my daughter, my little tiny daughter, and she's like, "How was it?" And I was like, "It's not as hard as I thought it was going to be." So I think I prepped super hard for it. But
what did you do to prep for? What advice would you give for somebody that's getting ready for Ranger School?
Take the tactics seriously. Understand how to communicate an operations order. It's not the physical we got. Physical's, well, it's relatively easy. I mean, some of us struggle with, for the most part, people, they get the physical part down, right? Do what it is that works for you. I'm not a ruck guy. I don't get a lot out of it. So I was swimming, I was running, I was lifting, and that did it fine for me. The killer is the ability to, it's Boyd's OODA loop, right? John Boyd's OODA loop, right? Mm-hmm. Observe, orient, decide, act. How quickly can you absorb information, orient yourself to that information, express it to your platoon, get them to observe and orient, right? So you got to get them in the OODA loop as well, and then make a decision, and all of you act on it in concert. That's the hard part. And so, it's I fall asleep during class, then I miss a critical part of the class itself. Ranger School teaches you everything you need to know. You just have to pay attention. And one of my pet peeves, even today, is if you're in a class with someone and you don't have a notebook out and you're writing that down, you're missing it, right? Because you're probably, especially in Ranger School, you're sleepy as it is, right? And so you're hearing it. You're probably not really remembering it because you're already sleepy, as opposed to, if I'm writing this stuff down, right, I'm hearing it. I'm physiologically using my motor skills to write it. I'm seeing it as I write. So now I've reinforced that learning by 3. And then later I can go back and read it again. And so, that's what I saw, is people were like, "Oh, I don't understand why I failed." And it's like, let me see your Ranger handbook. And there's nothing in it. And you're like, you got to write this stuff down, y'all. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, write it down and then study it.
And so what did your wife say to you when she showed up to your graduation? She said, how bad was it? And you're like, it's not that bad?
Yeah, it was like, it wasn't bad as I said, it wasn't bad as I thought it was, or as I thought it would be. It seemed like superhuman as a cadet. You're like, only superhumans graduate. I can never do this. And I think, and you've talked about this in your podcast before. It's every time you do something hard, it raises your confidence level. So as a cadet, you're like, I can never do that. And then you do, airborne school as a cadet. And you're like, oh, well, okay, I can do hard things. And then you go to officer basic course and you're like, oh, those I can do hard things. Right. And then at that point, like, you're fully prepared to go to Ranger School. You have to believe in yourself that you're prepared to do it, and realize it's like, it's not superhuman. It's you've done hard stuff before. You're just going to raise the bar one more notch.
Check.
Yeah.
And then where'd you get stationed?
Fort Lewis, with 2ID, so 2nd Infantry Division.
And you what, rolling as a platoon commander?
Yeah, right in. So this is where, everything in my sort of career at this point had been going like really, really well. And at this point, I go in and I feel like I like a plan, and I like to follow a plan. I'd say, like, when I envision something, like, oh, this is the way it's going to happen. Right. And so things started to sort of get out of sync here. And I think that in many ways, like, bit me in future times. Right. Like, I started to see that things weren't going according to the plan that Nate Fry had for himself. Right. So I roll into 5th Stryker Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division. So 5th Brigade, 5.2 Stryker was brand new. When I showed up, there was like a platoon and a half there. We were riding to the range on buses instead of Strykers, because we're literally brand new unit. So eventually, my platoon sort of gets.
This is 07?
This is 07.
Okay.
Yeah, brand new unit. And so eventually the unit sort of gets formed up, and we had an amazing mentor there. Again, I've sort of lost touch with him. Hopefully, like, catch him, reinvigorate and catch him again. But my company commander was a guy named Captain Eric Schwartz, and Captain Schwartz had been like original 10th Mountain Division in OEF, like 2001, 2002 timeframe. Amazing person, amazing tactician, amazing teacher. And so I was super lucky to have him like as my mentor, growing up as a platoon leader. But so spent some time like sanding up that company, and then eventually ended up being the assistant S3 in the battalion. But like, to be completely honest, like, I got to the point there where I felt like I was like mad, angry, frustrated, because I felt like I was being underutilized, and that attitude ended up biting me pretty hard, because when the unit finally got its deployment orders, and this is a whole nother nut roll. People out there who are in 5.2 remember this, but we were supposed to go to Iraq, and we're heading to NTC, and gosh, probably 3 weeks or so before NTC, they're like, actually, you guys are going to Afghanistan. So it was a complete U-turn of tactics, techniques, mindset. So we all started prepping to go to Afghanistan, but at that time, the Human Resources Command came down and was like, hey, you guys, some of you have been here too long. You need to go and go fill out these embedded training teams. With that are standing up at Fort Riley, and
were those embedded training teams supposed to go to Iraq or Afghanistan, or just
I think
whichever?
it was both. Okay. Yeah, I think it was both. It was like depending on which one you got assigned to. Mm-hmm. And without going into too many details, like, I was being kind of a jerk at this point. I was. How
old are you at this point?
Oh gosh, 25, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was like 3 years. Like, I just made captain, and angry and bitter, and felt like, wow, the unit doesn't like recognize me and my talents well enough. And they're like, I think they kind of gave it. It's like, well, Fry's got some talents, but he's also a pain in the butt. So like, send him to the ETT. Mm-hmm. So I ended up not having a chance to deploy with those guys, which I look back on, I was like, yeah, I was dumb. For basically just being a jerk. Mm-hmm. So long story short, like the ETT.
So the world, it turns out that the world did not revolve around you.
Yeah, but it took me another like 8 years to figure that out. Right? Yeah, this is like the Nate Fry right now is a product of the mistakes that Nate Fry made and all the And I talk to my lieutenants about this all the time. It's like, you should be open to making mistakes, because in the long run, those of us that don't make mistakes, I think maybe in the end, and this is a long time, like after 15, 20 years, you've missed out on all this learning. I think, over time, it definitely made me better. Maybe I'm just not very smart.
And what sucks is you're like angry and bitter about this thing, which is probably not huge. No. But then just the fact that you're angry and bitter about that thing that's not huge, let's say you get to a a unit that's not really stood up, and you're like, dude, this is what am I having to? So you're kind of angry about that,
Yeah.
and then that escalates into like people see that, people smell when you're mad, and people smell when you're frustrated, and that always smells like it's about you,
Yeah, totally.
And so then you get assigned to something where they go, hey, you know what? Actually, we're not going to take you to Afghanistan. You can go over here. And the reason they did that is because you were kind of mad and frustrated and showing it, which again seems selfish. So now they look at you and go, oh, you can go over here. Which, what does that do? Makes you even madder.
Yeah.
And you get more frustrated. Yeah, it's a little bit of a downward spiral that people can fall into.
Absolutely is. For me, it was, and I look back and I'm like, I was so dumb. But every Ranger qualified infantry officer is like, I'm going to be the scout platoon leader, right? I'm going to be the battalion scout platoon leader. And I was like, I'm going to be the battalion scout platoon leader. Like, I'm fit, I'm smart, I'm motivated. And the S3 at the time, then Major Jose Ocasio, brilliant guy, right? And he was like, he saw talent in me, and he's like, I want you to be my AS3. Well, nobody wants to go be on staff. Nobody wants to go be on staff. Nobody's going to, like,
so there's another thing that made you angry.
Yeah, it's like, oh, the AS3, like, that's a coffee maker. And so, like, I spent my time up there instead of learning from him, and I did learn from him eventually, but like, instead of really investing time and learning from him, being like, I'm here because he sees talent in me, like, and he's grooming me for something bigger, I just like walked around all sulky and was like, I'm the AS3, I should have been the scout platoon leader, right? It's like, and like you said, people pick up on that. They know that. Like, even if you don't say it, like,
they smell it.
Exude it. Yeah.
I always say people can smell your intent.
Yeah.
And this is case in point, and really good, really great, just lesson learned for everyone that's out there, because the opposite side is, I always tell when I showed up to SEAL Team 1 to get done with SEAL training, and here I am, made it through the toughest military training in the world and all this stuff, and I show up there and they're literally, hey, go clean the heads, and there's where the cleaning supplies are, go clean them, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's what we're doing. I've cleaned those things like it was the most important thing in the world, and that is the thing where someone goes, oh, that guy's kind of a hard worker. Hey, we can send him to this school. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's send him to that school, and it just takes a different turn from that initial reaction that you give something. So that's a great heads up to the young troopers out there. When something comes your way, man, just grab onto it, do the best you possibly can.
Take it. I mean, the context for me is, looking back, it was like, I was the honor graduate from my ROTC class. I was the honor graduate from my IOBC class. Did the, what is it called? Like the Ralph Colonel Puckett board, to be in the running to be the graduate from Ranger School. Like, I think I'm hot stuff, right? And I was good, right? But I wasn't the only one that was good. Yeah. But when you go into this and you're like, look, I'm honor graduate, you better bow down and before me and like recognize how awesome I am. Like, dude, you're a second lieutenant. Chill out, right? Like, however many other honor grads are there out there, right? But yeah, you get stuck in this cycle of like, I'm awesome, you better treat me like that.
Yeah, it's also from a leadership perspective, because we'd always have like the young cocky guys coming into the SEAL teams and being able to take them and go, hey, bro, like, we know you made it through SEAL training, so did everyone else here. And exactly. It doesn't really mean anything. Yep. And, how good you do this job that you're being assigned right now, however small you think it is, people are going to watch you, people are going to judge you. And if you can kind of convince guys of that, you can see them turn around. Sometimes, of course, people, they're just, life is going to be the thing that's going to have to humble them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get this assignment to do one of these internal embedded training team.
Yeah. And then so this is where the plot continues to thicken. Nate Fry gets even more angry. So I had
it's weird because you seem like such a nice guy in here.
I'm super chilled out now.
Yeah,
I'm a skier now.
Yeah,
it's like skiers.
Okay, skiers. Angry Nate Fry.
This was angry punk Nate Fry. Now I'm just like skier Nate. It's all good. But so I'd gone to SFAS, Special Force Assessment Selection.
And wait, how did you get that billet? Did you?
So you do that. I did that as lieutenant, right? So you just go temporary duty to
do the selection, which is not that long, right? That's like a few weeks.
21 days, yeah. So it was 21 days at this time, and so like I'd gone to SFAS, thinking I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eventually go to Special Forces training. Got selected, and so I was sort of had like this in the background. It's like, okay, you can go to SF training whenever you get back from deployment. Mm-hmm. Well, the orders for the ETTs get canceled, right? So at this time, and this is 2009 by this point, the Army decided to shift the burden for the ETTs, the MTTs, to all the combat brigades. So if a brigade was deploying, they would deploy their normal formation, And then they would also have to carve out a slice, and those would become ETTs, right? So the brigades had to staff both. So they shut down the ETT MTT program, and I was like, all right, what do I do now? And they go, well, you've been in selection and you got selected, so go to the SF course. Okay, I'll go to the SF course then. Fine. So further feeding into the ego, right? So now here I'm a 24 or 25, maybe 26 at this point, like 26-year-old, captain. And like, I'm awesome. I get selected, and I'm going to go to selection now. I'm fast tracking to SF. Okay, well, mindset matters, and my mindset was not mature. So ended up going to the SF course, and again, things are going super well there for me, like performing well. No recycles, going through the whole thing, like no problem. But internally, like a lot of frustration and anger building up still, like I think from the previous like assignment, going through the SF at the same time. And it was like, just to put it frankly, like not what I thought it was going to be, in terms of like the mission and the mindset in many ways. And so near the end of it, kind of a series of things pop up that further caused me to just like get mad and angry and
like
freak
what kind
out.
of things popping up? Just like stupid like chicken shit type evolutions, or
so I'm trying to like how to put it like in a tactful manner. I think at the time, this is my analysis, somebody's gonna yell at me about it afterwards, but like I think at the time, most of the really strong players were deploying, right? And so if you were at the actual cadre course at this time, it's like it wasn't always their best people. And so I wasn't super impressed with like the quality of like the instructor that we were working with. And so, and again, here's Nate Fry like thinking he knows everything.
Dude, this is rough, bro.
Yeah.
This is not a good recipe.
No, it's like, and I can look back now and be like, okay, well, yeah, you were walking, like thought you walked on water. So I'm getting like angry the whole time because I'm like, this is wasting my time, whatever. And so near the end of it, we go to Robin Sage, like the final culminating exercise. Everything's going well, right? But two things happen that really set me off. So the first is, my wife was pregnant with my son at the time, and I was like, I'll be back, in time for Robin Sage, like I'll be able to see the birth. But she came early, and so I missed my son's birth. And so I'm like, I get a cell phone call from the cadre one day, and they're like, hey, special call from your wife. Like she went into labor and she had the kid. So I'm like devastated. Like I feel like at this point I have put my career in front of my family, which is something I like resolved never to do. And I did. And then the second thing is a guy on our team lost his NODs, his night vision devices. And when they lose they lose these night vision devices, they shut the lane down. They're like, hey, look, you guys all have to go and find these night vision devices. And we can't find them, right? They're gone. Like, you lost them on the side of the road. Some guy from Central North Carolina picked them up. These things, dude's got them on his mantelpiece right now, right? Like they're gone. So they recycle the entire team, everybody.
Back to how far?
Back to the beginning of Robin Sage, right? Which is a 6 week setback. But at this point, like the Nate Fry anger and frustration, right, is so built up, plus missing my son's birth, plus this, like being recycled back to the beginning. And I'm like, nobody recycles Nate Fry. I don't recycle anything. I'm first time go through Ranger School, right? Like how do you have like the gall to recycle me? So I get super mad, and I'm just like, I resign. I'm leaving SF. I'm leaving the pipeline. All I had to do was go back and go back to SF. Go back to Robin Sage. Another 6 weeks. Yeah.
How long is that up until that point?
18
in the
months.
course?
18 months.
What did they say to you?
Nothing. Because, when you have somebody come in and it's like, hey, I'm going to quit. They're like, okay, it's ringing the bell, right? I ring the bell. Like got angry and was like, you know what? I'm too good for this. Rang the bell, walked away.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm interviewing you and not that guy. That guy's rough, man. That's rough.
I was super angry, and I can't tell you exactly why. But it caused me, and it's like for listeners listening out, for people listening, right? It's because I've sort of made it my life goal to be as transparent as I can about like my mistakes, because I'm super lucky in the sense I recovered. And we'll talk about this in a second, but like, Jason Pelletier, right?
Yeah,
like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Jason Pelletier recovered me. And in that same way, I've had two resets, like two hard resets. That was the Boy Scouts, and kind of got me back on my path and got me on track, and I was successful there, and then started spiraling again, and then met Jason Pelletier, and he put me back on track. But yeah, I was probably not a fun person to be around.
So what happens after you quit SF?
You go back to the force. And so at this point they were like, well, you're an infantry officer, but you just did all this SF training, and like, what do you want to do now? And I'm so angry at this point that I'm just like, I don't care. And they were like, well, there's this unit deploying from Fort Bliss, Texas. They need an S2, a battalion, an intelligence officer. Do you want to deploy as a battalion S2? I was like, yes, fine. It's fine. Let's go. So here's an infantry officer. I've never been to intel training other than like what I got in SF. And so I go to Fort Bliss, deploy as a battalion intel officer, technically military intelligence, but I'm not, because I don't know anything about military intelligence, but like put it together and like did well. But after that I was like, I'm done.
And where'd you guys deploy to?
Afghanistan.
And what was that deployment like?
So it was the drawdown. Like, so at this point, this is 2012, 2013. Obama had already announced that the U.S. was leaving, and so the Taliban at this point was like, well, cool. We're not doing
Stand by until they leave.
Yeah, why are we going to stick our neck out? And so, relatively, it was not like your Ramadi experience at all. And I was an S2. So
this is, I get asked a lot of questions, and I get asked so many questions. This is such a good conversation because I get so many questions about, things that happen to people in whatever career they're in, whether in a military career, police, corporate America, whatever team they're part of. And there's like things that go slightly wrong. And I'm always saying, hey, listen, you got to take the high ground, absorb as much the problem as you can. And you don't want to lash out. Don't let your ego get in the way. And a lot of times it's like, hey, you got to play the game. Like, hey, it's a game. You got to play the game. Yeah. And this is like a classic example of, I'm glad, because I give people that advice all the time. And sometimes I'm like, well, but occasionally, shouldn't you just stand up for yourself? And I'm always like, you want me to say like, hey, if someone talks to you that way, you got to stand up for yourself. And it's like, no, actually, when someone above, below, or across the chain of command to you treats you disrespectful, the answer is not to then be more disrespectful back to them. Yeah. That's not the answer. I don't care where they are on the chain of command. Look, can we carve out some scenario where someone is truly being deeply disrespectful in front of the street? Sure, you could come up with something like that. It is so rare that I will barely even mention it. These are classic stories that you're telling of not being able to absorb something, play the game, deal with it, because ultimately you're going to win in the long run. You got to think more strategic, and it's hard to think strategic when you're 20, 23, 25 years old. It's really hard to go, okay, I can see where this is going to go in the long run. I need to play the game. So this is just great reinforcement for people to really think about how they're going to respond. And 99.9% of the time, when you take the high road in the situation, you will end up in a better spot.
Yeah.
Just like in combat, 99% of the time, if you get the high ground, you're going to be in a better situation. Occasionally, rarely, okay, we're going to get in this little ravine, we're going to maneuver around. I get it. But 99% of the time, taking the high ground is the way to go. And that's the way it works. So these are great stories for people to hear, because everyone, just about every single day, we deal, people deal with some scenario like this. Their boss disrespects them. They didn't get the job they want. Whatever the thing is, it happens all the time. And to be able to go, okay, cool, I'll make the best of this right now, is a skill that you must learn. Otherwise, you're going to have to get multiple resets in your life, and they're generally speaking not very fun.
Yeah. And you're lucky if you get them. Like sometimes you don't get them, right? True. Like I'm amazingly lucky that I've gotten the resets that twice, right? Like I don't plan on doing my third strike, right? Like this is 2 and I'm like, good. But another thing I would say to listeners is like, the fallacy of falling on your sword, like the nobility of falling on your sword. So, a couple of times I've done that where I'm like, I'm not gonna stand for this. I'm gonna fall on my sword for this, and like, all my peers are gonna see how awesome I am, and that I, took the bullet for everyone else, and like they do, and they're like, wow, yeah, like Nate's gutsy to do that. He's also stupid, right? He's dumb. So,
and oftentimes, and this is a problem that I've talked about with, not a problem, but one of the sort of mysteries with David Hackworth, and it's not much of a mystery with me, but David Hackworth, he would have been a brigade commander next and a division commander. He could have really shaped how they fought the war, but he did this interview and he spoke his mind, and he was, he literally gets asked during that interview, don't you think you're a little emotional about what's happening here? And he's like, yeah, you're damn right emotional. I'm watching these kids get killed every day. So he reached a point where he could not do it anymore. That being said, if you want to play like the what if he sucked it up one more time and he became a brigade commander, division commander, could he have helped more individual soldiers? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But, and we see this, this happens in politics when General Mattis was working for Trump, and it was like he resigned his position and he was in the news for a short period of time. And by a short period of time, today's news cycle is 24 hours, maybe 48, and then no more influence.
Nobody cares.
And you're not in that position to make a difference anymore. So it's, to your point, look, are there times where we can go back through history and we can say, oh yeah, this leader, this platoon commander or this battalion commander stood his ground and actually was able to make a massive change? That has happened historically, but doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like, I fire you, cool, I got Echo right here.
Exactly.
He's going to do exactly.
Yep.
Oh, you want to resist me? Cool. You're fired. Echo steps in, and Echo's going to be no resistance whatsoever, and he's going to do exactly what I say, and I'm going to win.
Yeah.
And you just get fired.
I coined this term at some. I don't know if I said it or some other people would talk about. We talk about like high maintenance all-stars, right? And it's like a high maintenance all-star. It's like, okay, cool. Like, you're an all-star, but you suck up so many of my resources, my time, because I've got to pour all these, all this time and resource in you that I can't give to other people. I would rather have, sometimes there's a time for the high maintenance all-star, I guess, but like sometimes, like, I would rather have a bunch of slightly above average performers than this one high maintenance all-star who, like, kills it, but is a pain in the butt to have around. Like, that was me, right? I was like, I was objectively good. I was objectively a pain in the butt, right? Like, and those two things cancel each other out.
Yeah, they do. And they kind of end up a little bit on the negative side rather than just cancel each other out. It's actually that disruption to the morale and the disruption to the culture is so problematic, because then you end up, if you work for me and you're a high maintenance, what'd you say? High maintenance
all-star.
If you're a high maintenance all-star and you work for me and you're causing all these issues, I mean, Echo's over here looking at me like, dude, you really put up with this guy? And so I lose leadership capital because of your behavior. So it's just not good. Yeah. So you do this deployment, and during this deployment, I'm sure you're like, hey, I'm getting out of the Army. This is a done deal for me.
Yeah. At this point, it was like everything that I thought I was going to accomplish, I was like, I haven't done any of it. And like the SF thing was not without its, like, emotional toll. Like walking away from that, I was like, felt like a complete failure. And my attitude just got even worse. Right. So I get out of the Army at 7 years and some change, and I'm like angry, done. I'm done with this Army thing. I'm gonna go do something else. So I'm gonna go to Vermont. I'm gonna study forestry, and I'm gonna go work with trees. That's what Nate was gonna do.
Kind of sounds like a good deal.
Work with trees. Trees don't yell at you. If you get angry at them, you can cut them down. It's all good.
Yeah. I was building a retaining wall in my backyard when I was probably at like the 16-year mark or something like that of the Navy. And I'm out there, and I'm all day. It's hot and just sweating, but I'm building this nice looking retaining wall. And my wife comes out and she's like, oh, how's it going? I'm like, I think I'm going to become a mason when I retire. And I was like completely serious. Yeah. I was completely like, because a lot of times in the military, you're you have nothing to show for your work at the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the month. Like, oh, you as an officer, you built another PowerPoint brief. You did this thing. Of course, being on deployment is nothing more gratifying than that. But the day-to-day life is not, you don't see much for it. And here you go. You work a hard day, 14 hours, and I have a little wall.
Yeah.
And it's going to be there forever.
Immediate gratification.
And immediate gratification feels great. And like you said, the blocks don't talk back.
Yeah.
The concrete, goes where you want it to go. All good. So you had that idea with trees.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. Like, just go be a forester. So we moved to Vermont. Because,
and what does your wife say to this?
She's so tired of me at this point, I think. Like, I've drug her around. She had my oldest daughter, and I left like a week later for Ranger School and was gone for 60 days straight. And she's like single parenting, 23 years old, 100 miles away from her family. Like, she's a saint, right? That she's still with me. I think at this point, she's just like wants me to do something to be stable and not stalk around the house like a, angry.
So she's kind of down with this.
Yeah. I mean, she's
other
like,
than like, where are you going to get a paycheck from?
Yeah. There's that part. But she's like,
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, she's figured out. She's like super fiscally responsible. And she's like, we'll eat beans and ramen. It'll be fine. So, okay. So we get out, and I'm like, I'm going to go to grad school to study trees. And University of Vermont had a great program, and her family's from Pennsylvania. So we're like, okay, Vermont works. It's like within a day's drive of the grandparents. So we come up to Vermont, and pretty clearly or quickly, I'm like, I need some money, and I need probably some life insurance and health insurance. And, this time, like the whole time, I'm still skiing, I'm still climbing, I'm ice climbing, I'm pursuing certification as an IFMGA mountain guide. And so I'm like, Vermont's great, right? I can ski, I can climb, I can do my guide certifications, I can go to school, right? All these things kind of wrap together.
And what year is this that you get out of the Army?
2013.
Okay.
Yeah, 2013. And
so you're gonna you have to go to college for these qualifications?
Well, so this is the AMGA is the American Mountain Guide Association.
Okay.
And American Mountain Guide Association, it's essentially like a professional licensing. Mm-hmm. But in order to progress through it, it's like these series of courses that you have to do, like, certified as a rock guide, certified as an alpine guide, certified as an ice climbing guide, certified as a ski guide. And it takes a long time. I mean, it's a long, arduous route, and there's a ton of every time you do a course, you got to build a resume for it, right? So it's like, if you want to go to the advanced rock guide course, you've got to put up like something like 30 different climbs, like super high level, difficult, remote. So it takes time and it takes money to do it. It's not easy to do it.
Your hope is that at the end of all that, you can become a guide?
Yeah, like a fully certified. Anybody can guide, but like to be a certified guide and work internationally, you have to go through this whole, this whole like.
And that's your plan?
That's my plan. I'm going to study trees, and that's going to give me enough time to go to the Forest Service. And
so you're going to college basically for forestry?
Yeah, for forestry.
Okay. Yeah. Going to college for forestry, then you're doing all this extracurricular, trying to become a guide.
A mountain guide. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you realize you need money.
And that would probably be good. And because guiding is, I don't know, like kind of dangerous. Health insurance, life insurance is probably a good idea too. And so I kind of like, National Guard. Like, what can the National Guard do for me? And find out that there's this mountain battalion, the mountain battalion, right? So I look and I was like, there's a mountain warfare unit in Vermont. Like, how sick is that? So I call these guys up and I'm like, hey, this is who I am, like active duty guy, former active duty guy. And I'm up here in Vermont. Like, what do you guys have available? And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I come off as, working as a battalion S2 off of active duty, and they go, well, we got this battalion S2 slot open. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Okay, so here we go again. But at this point, I'm mellowed out a little bit, and I sign up for the Vermont Guard, and this is the next reset, right? Like this changed the course of my career, in my life. So I show up at the Mountain Battalion headquarters for my first drill. And, I walk out and there's soldiers standing in formation. I remember like the mortar platoon sergeant is like knife handing one of his guys and just like chewing him out. I'm like, okay, well, that's not what I expected to see. I thought the Guard was like about barbecues and stuff, and there's people doing maintenance over on Humvees, kind of like the, the narrative that you read at the beginning. Yeah. And I walk in and meet the recruiting officer, and he goes, hey, the battalion commander wants to meet you. Okay, cool. So I go up and he goes, look, he's former active duty guy too. Like, just do the thing for him. Okay, fine. So I walk in, salute and report, and it's Lieutenant Colonel Jason Pelletier. Yeah. And he sits me down and he just starts to have a conversation with me. Where are you from? What do you do? Oh, you were in 117? I was in 417, infantry battalion. So we kind of got this bond, and, we start talking, and I think he senses it, and he's like, look, I know that people have bad experiences and good experiences on active duty, and I'd encourage you to do this. Take all the good that you ever saw and bring it here, and find all the good that we have here and put it together and just throw the bad stuff out. And I was like, okay, I can do that.
That seems like a really good option, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, it was great. It was like transformational in terms of the mindset. It was like, okay, just take all the good stuff and just put it together and be a good team player. And I think he probably was like, hey, we're stoked to have you on as the S2. And I mean, that was it. All right, salute and walk out. And like, that was the beginning of the changeover.
Yeah. And like I said in the beginning, Jason Pelletier, who is just outstanding soldier and super humble guy, very, very nice, very approachable, probably, as a combat leader, has an incredible amount of combat experience from his time in Ramadi, where they were faced against a brutal enemy. And yet, and as I mentioned in the beginning, I can't say it strongly enough, the amount of information that they passed on to me and my guys, it absolutely kept our guys' lives. It's 100% kept our guys' lives. There was operations where they would, there's one operation I'm thinking of right now that, Jason told Leif, like, do not do that. Mm-hmm. And, like Leif was like, hey, what do you think of this? And he's like, well, that's not, I wouldn't do it. And I'm not going to go through all the details. But, Leif was like, yeah, but, we could probably make something happen. And, and finally, Jason's just like, I think the quote was, if I wanted to get one of my guys killed, I would do this. Yeah. And Leif's like, oh, okay. So that right there, and there's plenty of examples like that to go through, but just a super nice guy, humble guy, very effective combat leader. And it's just awesome that he stayed in, and now he gets someone like you and is able to kind of assess where your mind is at and talk to you in a way that changes your entire perspective very radically in a conversation. Yeah. That's real leadership right there.
Yeah. And he had a team under him, and I think this just speaks to the power of team and organizational culture. His XO and his S3, both former active duty guys, had come to the Guard, and their mindset was the same. They were like, look, take the good, put it all together. Like, there's a unique culture here, feed into that culture. And that culture was one of like standards, discipline, integrity, and effectiveness. And I think that for me was maybe the more transformative aspect of it. Cause I was like, okay, these guys grooming standards important, fitness standards important, all this stuff is important, but it's also not at the expense of being effective. And that, I think, was the thing that I was like, okay, I can get along with these guys, because a lot of my frustration had been like, why are we doing this? Like, this doesn't make any sense, right? Like, there's no functional reason for us to be doing this. And yet, Big Army says, do it. And here's this common sense group of people who are like, yeah, if it doesn't work, we're not going to do it. And I'm like, I can get onto this. Like, this is really good. They also, like, little by little, sort of harnessed like the anger and the energy that I think I had. And so I was just talking to Colonel Paul Judge, who was Pelletier's XO at the time, and he's like, yeah, I just remember in our first like field exercise, it was like this brigade exercise, and I was still the S2, and I got on the phone and like yelled at somebody because they weren't giving us ISR support. And he said, yeah, you said, I hope your mother's happy and proud of you, and like hung up the phone. And he said, I laughed, and I was like, I like this guy's fire. He's going to fit in just right. But then they also was like, okay, Nate, like, how can we approach this like a different way next time? Like, I love it that you're sticking up for us, but can we soften this a little bit? And so there was this, it's funny, Colonel Pelletier was the battalion commander, and then Colonel Judge was later the battalion commander. I was a company commander under him. And I think there was this sort of process of like, let's shape Nate to be a little bit more relaxed about this stuff. So it was a multiple, it was like a multi-step sort of intervention from these guys who are like, you got a lot of potential, buddy, but like there's some other things that are detracting from it. Mm-hmm. Can we mellow that out? Can we refocus that? It's like a nuclear explosion could do one of two things, right? It can destroy things with all of its energy, or it can be harnessed to create like endless clean power, mm-hmm. right? And I was like destroying a lot of stuff. And I feel like those guys were like, I love the energy. Let's put it in a nuclear power plant and get it to do something constructive. And I owe those guys my life, where I'm at right now because of the way they approach that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also awesome because if someone pushes hard against, someone that has a lot of what we're calling right now energy, if you come into my office and shoot me and go, sounds like you really think you know what you're doing, boom, it's going to be a nuclear reaction, mm-hmm. right? It's going to be bad, the bad kind of nuclear reaction. Whereas for someone to sit down, well, tell me what's going on. And all of a sudden recognize it and then try and figure out how we can capture this and do something good with it. The leadership is just so important along the way. So that's it. You're now with you join the unit, and then what's that like? Did you go active duty immediately with the National Guard?
No, I went and played with trees for a little bit. So I was a traditional National Guard guy, 1 week a month, 2 weeks a year thing. And I ended up working with the U.S. Forest Service over in New Hampshire and run around the woods with trees. A little too low energy for me though, right? Like at a certain point I was like, trees are not growing super fast. Like, could we go faster, trees? And trees are like, no, bro, like we're not going any faster. And so, continuing to do the mountain thing. And this is where I think like I've really started to get in my stride. Got a call one day from retired General Nate Lord, who was a old Mountain Battalion guy, and he said, hey, look, we need a full-time training officer at the Army Mountain Warfare School. Would you come on AGR duty to do this?
Did he know your background?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he knew. So another guy that I owe so much to, because he was like, we need Nate here. The school started at an inflection point, and he pulled some strings to get me to the school. And that was the beginning of sort of like, okay, I finally feel like I'm doing my thing.
And so did you go active duty then?
Yeah, so I went
go do that school
AGR to go work at Mountain School. I worked there for 3 years.
So what's going on at the Mountain School? Who shows up there to train?
Yeah, so any of your listeners out there who have been to Mountain School will back me up on this probably and say it is one of the best kept secrets in the Army. Here's what's different about it, right? Airborne School, Ranger School, like all these other schools that that the Army has, you go there, you're an instructor for 2 or 3 years, and you're gone, right? With the Mountain Warfare School, because of the unique the way it's uniquely set up, some of those instructors have been there for 10 or 15 years. Now that comes with some negatives, right? Like the whole homesteading mentality. It also makes them amazing masters of their craft, and it makes them. They've also had time to hone, and you were talking about this earlier, like hone themselves as instructors. Not just I know this stuff, but I can teach the stuff. Mm-hmm. And so the level of professionalism there is just, it's through the roof. They're all practitioners, right? They can ski, they can climb, they can teach how to ski and climb. And so at this time, the Mountain School is really looking at, okay, what is coming next? And the Army's talking more about Arctic, it's more talking about specialized warfare. 10th Mountain Division is sort of standing up again as an actual mountain unit. And we get to sort of be at the middle of all of that as the Mountain Warfare School, writing doctrine, advising people on on how to integrate mountain operations into their formations, and also like tons of like foreign partner assistance stuff. I mean, these guys, if we're not teaching a course, there's typically an instructor team gone somewhere in the world teaching mountaineering to someone. Like, it was so busy.
What does your training ground look like? Do you have good training where is it, in Vermont?
It's in Vermont, yeah.
And do you have good training there? Do you have like massive amounts of acreage to train in?
Yeah, so Ethan Allen Training Site is like just east of Burlington, 12,000 acres that backs right up to the spine of the Green Mountains. Like, so the eastern boundary is the Long Trail. So you can do, I mean, if you get really creative, like as a training guy, right, you can like do long distance movements through the mountains where you go up, you hit the Long Trail. You could do these huge traverses. We'd come down, there's I'd say a higher elevation HLZ up there, so like seize the HLZ, set up a defense around it, get tagged. I mean, it was amazing what we could do in that training area.
And do they ever go out Western America to train?
Yeah. We'd send people out all this. So every spring I'd try to get people out and do, extended training trips in the Sierra, out in Colorado, training with mountain guides. And a lot of those guys are on the similar track as I am. Like they're going through the American Mountain Guide Association instructor track at the same time.
Is the school run by National Guard and reservists, or is there active duty guys up there? Is it an active duty place to get stationed as well for an Army dude?
So this is the interesting thing about it is that it started as a pure National Guard school, but because they were so effective, and can't quote the exact 2001, 2002, early 2000s, the Army co-opted the school and was like, you're no longer a National Guard school, you're going to be the Army school. So it's staffed by Vermont National Guard people, funded by Big Army, answers tactically to the Maneuver Center of Excellence down at Fort Benning, Georgia, but administratively controlled by the Vermont National Guard. Right? So like it's mom and dad. We had like 2 Christmases, and both parents are divorced. And
how many people are stationed there? How big is the instructor staff?
It's like 30 to 35 instructors at any given time. Some of them are full time, some of them are part time, some of them come on like temporary contracts, and then there's just a couple of officers. Like there's the commander, the ops officer, and then the training officer. So and the rest are all NCOs, and they're for the most part like pretty amazing NCOs. Yeah.
So that's the best kept secret in the Army. I think it sounds awesome. And do you ever interact with the Marine Corps Bridgeport Mountain Warfare?
We try. I remember I went out there once on a orientation mission. I guess like they invited us out and we're talking. At the end of the conversation, I was like, "Hey, is there anything we can do for you? Like, just let us know." And they're like, "Right." Because their program is amazing. They've got an amazing setup there. And I think they were just like, yeah, little brother, if we need you, we'll call you. So we had some interaction with them, but I'm jealous. They have a great program.
It's a great location. Good Lord.
Yeah.
All right. So you do that for how long? How long are you in the role for?
3 years. Yeah.
And then did you decide you're going to stay on active duty after that?
So that's when General Knight threw one of his staff officers basically directed me. He was like, "You're going to go to North Macedonia, and be the liaison at the embassy in North Macedonia." So
General Knight is for those of you who don't know, he's the adjutant general of the Vermont National Guard. He was on this podcast 505. He was with us in Ramadi. He was one of the guys getting it done in the tactical operations center in Ramadi. Great guy, and he provides us with honey. Or syrup, maple syrup. Yeah. What am I thinking? Honey. It's like Vermont.
He probably does honey too.
Yeah, and pickles as well, and salsa. Don't forget that.
Which you said the best pickles and the best salsa you've ever had.
Yep.
The best salsa you've ever had is from a dude from Vermont.
That's right. Yeah.
A general from Vermont.
Yeah, and I have salsa experience too.
Very experienced. Very highly experienced salsa.
He was going to send some back, but he said he's out for the season. So.
Does he have a name for the salsa? Is there like some kind of name on it?
I don't know. I didn't
catch
it.
Or anything like that?
No. He just makes it.
He just makes it.
But it has like a label on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't remember what it says?
I didn't catch it. I was too busy eating it, but it is what it is. It was good though.
Jack. So he tells you, hey, you got to get a real job in the Army.
Yeah, he's like, you're going to go to the embassy and do this embassy thing. And this is a super exciting time too, because North Macedonia is like on the verge of joining NATO. And so my friend Gene Enriquez, who was also in Ramadi with you guys, but I called him before this. And I was like, can you tell me any stories about Ramadi? He was like, dude, I was an E3. Like, I don't know. I can't tell you anything. But anyway, so Gene was there with you all in Ramadi, but and now at this point, he's an officer. He's a major. He gets North Macedonia across the NATO finish line, and then I show up like 3 months later, and it's just like, okay, what do you do now? They're in NATO. Like, what's next for a new NATO member? This is the best mission command I've ever gotten was from a Department of State ambassador. So Ambassador Burns, who's the ambassador to North Macedonia, calls me in her office, and she's like, hey, great to have you. Here's what I need you to do. Solidify North Macedonia into NATO. Silence. And I'm like, okay. Any guidance, ma'am? She's like, don't do anything illegal, immoral, unethical, but get them solidified into NATO.
Jack.
And I'm like, okay, roger that. And like, that's it. That was the conversation.
Outstanding.
And so we spend the next 2 years like basically Wild Westing that place. And it's like, carrier strike groups in the Med, get F-18 Hornets to fly in and like drop bombs in there. They've got this amazing training area there. Like get the F-18s in, call 10th Special Forces Group up in Germany. Hey, we got F-18s coming in. Can you guys come down on this date? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So they come down. We're dropping live ordnance in the middle of North Macedonia, like planning these. We did a huge airborne operation. The UK, Italy, US, I forget. It's like 4,000 people. They did like a mass tac jump in. Like it is nuts. And we're going at 110 miles an hour. And then it all starts to make sense because Russia invades Ukraine. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay.
And that's where you are when Russia invaded Ukraine?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been, we've kind of been tracking it and watching it in the news and looking at the buildup. And then, one day I wake up and look at my phone and it's like, Russian frontline elements. I got a text from the ODC chief, Office of Defense Cooperation. He's like, hey, briefing at the embassy at 9:00. Like, get in here. And so we go in and to the classified area, and they kind of fill us in on.
Were you surprised?
We were not. We had sort of been seeing things and been filled in. It wasn't a question of like if, it was more a question of like when is it going to happen. So it was like, okay, it happened. There it is. And so from then it was like, how do we help? North Macedonia, tiny little country. The ambassador always said that they punched above their weight. They immediately start emptying out their storehouses to get anything that they can, old like Warsaw Pact ammunition and equipment over to Ukraine and try to hook them up. So that was like the effort for the next few months, was like get anything we can to Ukraine and to help them out. So it's an interesting time.
What is your, when you look at the way that war has gone since then, what is your assessment right now?
Gosh, I don't think I'm paid to do this. I think that the bottom line assessment is Russia can't win. Like if we allow them to win in Ukraine, it's going to empower them to do anything they want in the Balkans as well, in the Baltic region. There's all sorts of issues with disinformation that they're doing in the Balkans, trying to turn Serbia in their favor. Serbia is a proxy state, causing issues on Europe's doorstep in Kosovo. And then I don't even want to talk about the Baltics up north. And it's like, okay, what if they decide to take a little enclave in Latvia, Lithuania, or Estonia of native Russian speakers, right? It's like the appeasement situation from the 38, 39 all over again, right? Like if you allow Russia to take this little bit, then they're just going to be emboldened to take more. This goes back to the Russian kickboxer story, right? Like we're in a difficult situation, but in order to win, we've got to make some risky decisions, I think.
You said the phrase Russia can't win. And what you meant by that, now that you've completed the statement, is like Russia can't be allowed to win.
Yeah, so sorry. Yeah. But, no, they could certainly win.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
They can.
Yeah,
it's they just have the war of attrition. They can continue to go, and the Ukraine has a limited number of people, right. And that's a real problem.
Yeah.
And I always, unfortunately, it's just war is just the cliche thing of like war is a test of wills. Well, it is,
yeah.
And it's like a test where you really think you can win, and I really think I can win, and. Because if you really don't think you can win, you'll probably be like, you know what, I'm good. But if you think you can win, you're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And if I think I'm going to win, I'm going to keep going. And that's it seems like that's where they're at.
Yeah, that's what's happened.
Because, and in my opinion, like the Ukrainians, they can't, this is an existential war. Like if they lose, that's it for Ukraine. So every man in Ukraine will fight to the death. And that's just bloodbath. And how much of that can Russia take? And what does that look like on the world stage? So,
well, but then there's also the issue that every man in Russia is not fighting.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's part of the problem, is that the national commitment to it, it's not there. I mean, like my travels, run into Ukrainian person in, the United States or, over in Central Europe or something like that. And you're like, oh, you're here? Yeah, I left. Okay. Well, that's like one less person who's over there, like actually trying to fight.
Yeah.
So,
And the fact that you see the videos of like guys being forcibly recruited,
yeah.
And well, why are they having to do that? Because everyone says, "Oh, that's so terrible." Well, yeah, it is. And at the same time, why do they have to do that? So I guess I should have rephrased that. Certainly, the politicians are willing to expend every willing Ukrainian's life to maintain what they can.
Yeah. I mean, I think what Ukraine has done so far is amazing.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Like what they have done against Russia is mind blowing. But they don't have the personnel, they don't have the equipment. And I'm talking way above. Might be very good at this point, but I guess I'm speaking now as Nate Fry, adjunct professor who teaches international relations at University of Vermont, right? And so this is not me as a battalion commander, but me as like a sort of international relations wonk talking about this. And it's this idea that like they're going to run out of resources unless someone, NATO, EU, United States, decides to back them on it, because we see that the return on our investment is greater than us not being involved. I think that's where we stand right now. Like there's been a sort of this trickle of like, oh, we'll give you this, we'll give you this, we'll give you this. And a lot of people much smarter than me, more informed, have said like, what would happen if we had just given them the full weight of everything in the first 6 months? It might be done right now, but we just trickled it. So.
All right. So you get done with that job. What came next?
So then I went back. I spent a year as the XO at Mount Battalion. And then at that point, I was like, there's nothing really left for me to do on active duty. And that's where I said, look, I've got this idea that I've been nursing in my head. I mean, I say a decade, probably more than that, because it's all about like making mistakes and getting better. I've been making mistakes for a long time right now. So I said, look, the tree thing didn't work out. I'm going to go get an MBA, learn about business and how to do spreadsheets and investments and stuff like that. And I'm going to launch this, be a traditional guard guy, 1 week a month, 2 weeks a year. And I'm going to launch this startup.
Where'd you go to business school?
University of Vermont. It's right there. Easy, convenient.
And then how long is business school?
This was a compressed program. It was a year long. So it's just like.
And what'd you learn?
I learned math, which is good. Like being able to speak the language of investors, I think has been the biggest thing for me. When they come in the room and start talking about like equity and cap tables and, what are we going to do? And, in terms of like seed rounds and pre-seed and Series A and all this stuff. And it's like, I wouldn't have known how to do that before business school. So the hard skills were really great. I think what I would call like the soft skills, right, of like leadership and organizational management, at least at my program, were pretty lacking. And honestly, that again was part of the inspiration for the startup and what we're trying to do. Because I think and you guys know this, right? It's incredibly hard to teach people how to lead and make decisions through a book and through lectures. And I think that's a big flaw in my program and other programs. Of one of my lieutenants is down at, I'm going to mess this up, Texas A&M or UT. I think he's at University of Texas. And he's doing a business school down there. And it's a military guy with a deployment. And he's like, yeah, same thing. Like hard skills are great. All the soft skills about leadership. He's like, this is not right. Like professors, well-meaning and well-researched and studied, talking in class about, hey, this is how you do this stuff. And he's like, that's not actually how it plays out. So I think business school is great for teaching like business, but leadership side of things is challenging.
So your idea is, what's the idea that you had in the back of your mind for all this time?
The idea in the back of my head is that, to put it like very simply, the U.S. military, probably in general, I can speak in particular about the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army is continually over-indexing on equipment and hardware, and far under-investing on training people and skills.
One thing so I have a company called Echelon Front.
Yeah.
We do leadership training. We do leadership consulting. And one of the things that we do is we have something called the FTX, field training exercise. And we have these really high-end laser tag systems. And we teach people like the most rudimentary tactics, but then we start giving them missions, and we send them out on missions to detain, capture, kill, set up Overwatch positions, do hostage rescues. They do all this super high-speed stuff. Not that they're going to be proficient at hostage rescue, but they get put in these scenarios where they have to make decisions, they have to lead. And the reason that we did that is because when I was in the SEAL teams, the last few years I was in, I ran the training for the West Coast SEAL teams. And so we were running these big giant FTXs, and that's where you'd see leaders actually get, punched in the face with reality and have to go through real time making decisions. There's some things in life, and it's the same thing with jiu-jitsu, by the way. You can tell someone for 3 days how to stand up on a surfboard. You can tell them for a month. You could use graphics and have the best lectures in the world explaining to someone how to stand up on a surfboard, and they still have to go out and stand up a surfboard. And it's going to take them 12 tries, 20 tries, 40 tries before they do it one time. And once they do it one time, they go, okay. And they're going to be able to go okay with it. Or they're going to be able to, they have a leg to stand on. They're going to start being able to get up. So the thing with leadership is, like, I can tell you how cover and move works over and over and over again. I can put slides up here, and all that will put some of the context into your head, but you still have to be put in that situation where you have to see it for yourself. And the reason I said it's like jiu-jitsu, I've been explaining to people lately, there's a lot of different methodologies for training jiu-jitsu. And some of them are, hey, like just drill. You drill this move over and over and over again. You learn the move, and then you drill the move. And the other end of the spectrum is you don't even learn the move. You just get put in positions, and then you try and figure out what to do. And the correct way, what I will say is the correct way, is the way I explain to people is there are, let's say, 10 things that you have to do in jiu-jitsu to make a move work. And I can teach you 5 of them. And the other 5, you have to figure out by doing them. And some people, if it's a really good instructor that's got a really special move that they are really good at, maybe that guy can teach you 7. And you got to figure out 3 on your own. There's always an element that you have to figure out for yourself. That's why you can't just drill the move. You have to live engage with people. You have to go through that. And so it's the same exact thing with leadership. I can tell you 5 things about what's going to make this work. But until you're in the field, until someone is yelling at you and you start feeling your emotions flare up and you go, oh, wait a second. Oh, this is detachment. I remember Jocko talking about detachment. He said, take a step back, take a breath. Okay, look around, nod your head and listen. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. But until you get put in that situation, you don't know how to do it. You have to get put in there and see what it feels like. So the idea of not just learning from a book, which, look, I've written a bunch of books and I've had plenty of people say, oh, your book really helped me. But they always follow it up with like, your book really helped me and I got put in the situation and I remembered it and I did it, and then they become proficient at it. So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think that the best way to think about this, really comes down to an idea of like, that I love John Boyd, right? John Boyd and the OODA loop, right? So the OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, act, right? So the first 2 aspects of the OODA loop are mental cognitive, right? Like I read a book, I understand the book, but then I have to make this jump from like the understanding to actually putting it into practice, right? Is exactly what you're saying. And so what we see across the Army, unfortunately, is it's easier to put money into something tangible, right? It's very straightforward for me to make a knife, to make a missile, to make an unmanned aerial system. So we're making these things, and at the same time we're cutting funding to the opportunities that are so pivotal for people. Ranger School, we are watering down the the standards for like NCO education system, basic leader course, right? Advanced leader course, right? So we're eroding standards, we're taking away these training opportunities. And then are we surprised when like people in the military can't achieve the training outcomes we want them to? We're like, well, we gave you the knife. Well, sure, you gave me the knife and you gave me a book how to use the knife, but didn't you actually put me in a position where I had to learn how to use it? Well, no, there wasn't enough budget for that. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. And so when you talk about like making these FTXs, yeah, absolutely. Like I am a product of a well-funded GWAT era Army. When I was a platoon leader with 5.2 Striker, I think I probably did 10 live fires. I mean, like constant in an 18 months time, like so many live fires. So I got really good at fire and maneuver, right? It was great.
Did you say 10 live fires?
Yeah. Like platoon level, so platoon level live fires we were doing. We go to Yakima Training Center in Central Washington.
Yeah.
I'm not talking like static ranges, but like go out to Yakima Training Center and it's like, oh, here's your striker. Here's the scenario, like drive on, dismount, run in, shoot the buildings up in like an 18 months time. It was nuts. Yeah. Yeah. Colonel Harry Tennell was the brigade commander at the time, come from 173rd. And that guy was like, we will use every drop of ammunition we have to just live fire all the time.
In the SEAL teams, we are so blessed because we would do live fire. I couldn't put a number. It's literally like hundreds of evolutions in a platoon workup. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, we don't get that.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things where I go, gosh, like I forget how totally lucky we were. And that was like mid GWAT for you. You know what I mean? That's when you're going to get when you said strikers, I was like, okay, because it's a little next level if you're out there doing live fire with the strikers and they're putting down 25 millimeter chain gun and stuff like that. Yeah. That's I could see a little bit of a smaller number. But yeah, we do live fire like it's our job.
Lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I think an infantry platoon leader, if they get a couple of platoon live fires, like cool.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. Like in the train, because like the overall training progression, like, let's say you're a platoon leader for 18 months and you're going to go, like your training progression, you're going to end up doing buddy team live fire, squad live fire, do that a couple of times, and you get a platoon, then you go to company live fire, and then, you reset and go back to it. So yeah, I mean, and the National Guard's even worse, right? Like if I get a platoon leader one live fire in the National Guard, I'm stoked.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good at all.
But to the point of like what we're trying to do here, right? Like the Army has said, look, these FTXs, live fires, really resource intensive, take a lot of time, take a lot of money. And a lot of times they're only training like one echelon of people in a certain way. And so, we don't get enough live fires, from the standpoint of what we need to do to achieve training proficiency. So the Army has identified that, and they're like, look, we need to do more in this, what they call like synthetic training, right? So simulators and things like that. But all the simulators that the Army is making right now, it's all like shooter, like kinesthetic type things, right? Like, an engagement skills trainer to make me a better shot, a tank gunnery trainer. And I look at this and go, okay, where are we getting reps and sets on difficult leadership decisions, moral, ethical decisions, tactical dilemmas? When I go left, I'm screwed. If I go right, I'm screwed too. Like where do we pull that off? And then even one level deeper than that is the data, right? So like if I get on an engagement skills trainer, like a really, good marksmanship trainer, it's going to tell me like, oh, look, you're losing your sight picture, you're jerking the finger on the trigger, like, you're breathing at the wrong time, right? We've got data analytics behind that. So, here's the dream that we're thinking about, like with my company Spire, like, can you pattern like the complexity of mental decision-making and help someone understand, look, Jocko, you are firmly in the like quick decision, amygdala, like rapid gut instinct decision-making, or, are you more in the sort of prefrontal cortex reasoning, like where do you sit in that? And then having the ability to say like, look, we know where you're at now. How do we coach you to get to be a more well-rounded person so that you can switch, sort of toggle back and forth between amygdala and prefrontal cortex, right? Can I go back and forth relatively easy? Like that's a skill you have to practice. And I like, that's Nate Fry from experience, right? Because I was all amygdala for the first 10 years of my career. Like everything was just like, rapid fire, and then had to train to get to the point where it's like, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to slow my emotions. What word did you use it for? You used a word earlier, like a deliberate.
Relax, look around, and make a call.
Yeah.
Detach.
Detach.
Detach is what I use.
Yeah. So like detach from your situation. Like that's a muscle. And so can we put people in situations, high rep and high set, so it doesn't take a ton of time, ton of money, ton of ammunition, like all this other stuff, so that let's call it a daily basis. On a daily basis, Nate Fry can run through a scenario to help me move from being a back of the brain, lizard brain thinker to a prefrontal cortex, more reasoning thinker, and know when to distinguish between the two.
Yeah. There was, I had a conversation with a young military crew talking to a group of guys, and they were talking about how, well, the training isn't reflecting exactly what's happening on the battlefield right now, and I get it, right? We always tried to make the training reflect what was happening on the battlefield right now. But now you've got, drones coming in, and all these sensors are coming in, and all these different things are coming in. And so, well, how do we, the training doesn't reflect it. And the battlefield is changing quickly. But what I tried to explain from a leadership perspective is that it's the same thing that you're saying, which is if you take someone and you put them in a challenging situation with dilemmas and problems and pressure, it doesn't really matter what's causing those things. You can learn to make decisions, whether, you and I are getting mortared and we're sitting there getting mortared and we got to figure out what we're going to do. There's pressure, there's danger, there's time constraints, and we got to make a decision on what we're going to do. Cool. It doesn't matter if we're getting mortared or if there's a VBIED, in a vehicle driving towards us. We're in a situation, we got to make a call. Or if there's a drone overhead, or, we have people we got wounded guys. Like, it doesn't really matter. What we have to learn how to do is take a step back, detach, look around, make a call, make an iterative call that will move us somewhere in the right direction, and get the feedback. So you learn how to use the skill regardless of what the variables are. And I think people lose track of that very quickly, that, you don't need, we run drills with corporations where, we give them some kind of a problem, like some kind of a rudimentary problem, like, take 3 different Lego sets, put them in one box, mix them all together, and then give them the pictures and like, hey, build this stuff. If someone doesn't lead that, if someone doesn't step up, if they don't cover for each other, if they don't keep things simple, if they don't do that, like, things will just fall apart. And even putting together Legos, like, people will start yelling and screaming at each other. That's the wrong part. Like, you see that? These are with grown adult business people yelling. And you think, okay, so they haven't learned how to detach. They haven't learned how to take a step back. They're letting their emotions drive their decision-making process. So these things are very problematic. And you are 100% correct that if you can put people iteratively in these situations, and that's exactly what we do now at Echelon Front with the FTX. It's also exactly what I used to do, was just put a platoon and the platoon leadership in high-stress scenarios with a lot of problems, and they've got to sort them out. And they can sort them out a different way each time, but they learn how to sort things out under pressure, under time constraints. They learn how to make things happen, and it is a skill. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with leadership, is people don't understand that just like any sport, the vast majority of the sport is skill. It's not natural gift. Like, rock climbing is a great example, right? The amount of skill, people underestimate the amount of skill in rock climbing. You ever gone rock climbing, Charles?
At a gym.
At a gym? Yeah. Were you good at it?
No.
Yeah, you see?
Really.
Are you a weak person?
No, not really.
Well, check. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can have someone that has the skill of rock climbing can completely outclimb someone that's strong, even someone that specializes in like pull-ups. If someone's a good rock climber, I've climbed with, I suck at rock climbing, but I've gone rock climbing with people that I could probably do, let's call it 10 times more pull-ups than them. Yeah. And they can outclimb me without breaking a sweat, because they have the technique, they have the skill of rock climbing. So there is skill involved in leadership. And yes, there are natural gifts that you may have for leadership. Some people are, a little bit more articulate. Some people are a little bit calmer. Those things are really beneficial. But just like someone might have a naturally strong grip, right? And that's going to give them a little bit of tendency to be a little bit better as a rock climber. Well, guess what? That pales in comparison to actually learning the skill of rock climbing. So I think you're onto something.
Well, the thing that frustrates me too is we look at the advent of like justifiably amazing technologies like AI. The one that really gets me is that talk about like brain implants. It's like, oh, I'm going to put a chip in your brain, and like that's going to help you perform better. We're skipping a step. We're skipping a lot of steps, actually, and that step is some sort of structured mental cognitive training. Like, you hear this all the time. Like, we use a fraction of our brain. It's not because we're not capable of doing it. I think it's because we don't have the training, we don't have the resources, we don't have the mentorship. And so before we jump, and it's like the idea of medicine, right? Like we're not going to go from, oh, okay, you have an infection in your arm to like, let's just cut the arm off, right? Somewhere in there, I have various interventions that I can use to try to help me not cut my arm off, right? And so before we jump to, well, I'm going to put a Neuralink in your brain, to help you, perform better. What about all the other things we're not doing right now? So when you talk about like what you're doing with Echelon Front and the FTXs, my question is, Jocko, like next step, how do you make sure that over the course of months after that intervention, that they actually learned, right? They read your book and then they said, oh, I learned something about it. Cool. Where were they before they read your book? Where were they right after? And where were they right after they actually got to implement it, right? Can you imagine being able to chart that with the technology we have right now, some sort of machine learning technology, running through, digital simulations where you can go, I see where Echo is at before we talked. Now I see where he's at after he's read my book and talked. And then I can check him again in 6 months and be like, wow, you really have grown. Like we know you're growing, as opposed to, well, you thought you're growing, but like you haven't actually moved. So now we can we can do another intervention and say, okay, where do you think the hang up is? Right. So it enhances the dialogue that I should be having between me and a company commander, between me and a platoon leader, between a CEO and one of their mid-level managers, and we don't have that right now.
Yeah, because we don't have this tool yet. The diagnostics come from my instructor staff at Echelon Front, because we can see and we can do diagnostics of what the issue is, but that takes us interacting, right, and observing. So that's it's expensive for the clients,
right.
And clearly if we had a way where we could say, oh, here's let's see how you're doing now, and go through this protocol and you're getting tracked, that would be great, very beneficial, because right now people just like anything else with technology, it's manually performed by us human beings, the instructors at Echelon Front, and we're good at it, but there's a limited supply of instructors at Echelon Front.
Exactly.
So this is where it would be very, very beneficial.
It's data points, right? And I was just talking to someone about this the other day because they were asking me about avalanche training, and they were like, because I do avalanche ed on the side, and they were like, well, what's the thing with like that pit where you dig in the snow and you tap it? And I'm like, yeah, that's the worst thing that has ever happened to avalanche training, right? Because like everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to take an avalanche course, I'm going to learn how to dig a pit in the snow, and I'm going to tap on it, and it's going to tell me everything I need to know. Right? That's like looking for weak layers in the snow. Guess what you did after you spent 45 minutes or an hour digging your pit in the snow and like tapping around it? You got one data point for one spot at one given time. Do we make decisions like from a scientific standpoint based on a single data point? No, we want multiple data points, right? And so when I'm teaching avalanche ed, it's like, okay, how can we get as many data points as possible and many different aspects and elevations as we possibly can? So instead of doing one big intervention, like a 45-minute snow pit, I'm going around, I'm like, all right, I'm doing a hand shear, I'm doing a shovel shear, all technical terms, right? But I'm like doing stuff that allows me to get a lot of data really, really quickly, so that by the time I'm ready to drop into that backcountry line, I've got a much better idea of where the avalanche danger exists and whether it exists in my spot. And I've made that call, like, okay, like this is safe or this is not safe. So I would say that what the Army is doing right now in many ways is like we're digging a big snow pit. It takes a lot of time, low resource, light energy, and we get one data point on that platoon leader. If we're lucky, right? One, maybe two, right? In my case, I got 10, but like not as much as you did, right? As opposed to, what if we had a tool that allowed us to get a data point every day? Like, and it didn't take that long. Or the same way as like digging a hand shear only takes me 90 seconds. If I had a way, 10 minutes a day, right? I could get a data point on where you're at as a leader. 30 data points over the course of a month, 90 over a quarter. Holy smokes. Like, what does that allow me to do as a mentor, as a company commander now, in regards to looking at a lieutenant and saying, like, here's where your strengths, here's where your weaknesses are. Like, we can make decision off that data.
So that's the idea.
That's the idea.
That's the idea that you rolled in with. And you went to business school with that idea already in your head?
Yeah.
And then you get done with that. Was there any other major points from business school besides Excel spreadsheets and whatnot?
Excel? No. I mean, networks. I mean, like, I think starting a company, especially like a startup, is like pulling the string on a sweater. Like, you don't have the grand picture in front of you. Like, you start with asking one person one thing, and they lead you to a person, and that person leads you to two people. And so, like, what started in business school as me asking a professor, hey, can you get me a contact with somebody who runs a business accelerator, right? And I talk to that person, and then they next, and then, like, I think business school, and that's for anybody who's listening to this who's like, oh, I'm getting out of the army, or I'm getting out of the military. What do I want to do? Maybe I want to go to business school. Choose a business school that has the networks into the industry that you want to be in, because they've all got their own thing, right? Stanford's going to put you in tech. I don't know, UPenn's going to put you in medicine. So I think that's the biggest advice I've got for people when they're like, oh, I'm thinking of going to business school. It's like, great. What industry do you think you want to be in? Go find a school that does that, because really what you're paying for, some hard skills, you're paying a lot for like the network that is going to help you launch whatever you want to do. Yeah. So that's what it did for me.
Check. And then when did you take over as battalion commander?
At the beginning of business school. So it was like coinciding. I started business school in August. Change of command was in August.
And you took over for Colonel Pelletier, right?
No.
Oh,
he was
long gone.
Yeah, he was long gone at this point. No, I took over for my friend Stefan Asper. And yeah, that was August 2024. So we're coming up on 18 months at this point. And then took over to awkward, like knowing that we were also deploying this summer, and then I was going to have to build a business at the same time. And it just had to make a call, and I was like, well, I'm just going to get started and I'll figure it out once I get there. Yep. So yeah, now I'm kind of looking at the down the barrel of, deploying this summer.
How long is the deployment for?
It's door to door going to be about 11 months when you think about like the pre-training away from home, 9 to 10 months in country, and then the demobilization would come back.
How often does a National Guard unit like deploy currently?
That? It depends on the unit. So this is one of the, the great things about the Vermont Guard, the Mountain Battalion. If you look back at the op tempo of the deployment cycle of the Vermont Guard, so Ramadi was 2005, 2006, right? And then 3rd Battalion, the Mountain Battalion, deployed to Afghanistan in 2010. 2015, we were on the patch chart to go to deployment. So we went to went to JRTC, but the deployment ended up getting canceled. But still went through the whole cycle. 2020, they deployed to CENTCOM, and now 2025 as well. So it's like a 5-year cycle. It's been a consistent 5-year cycle for this battalion, which is not something. I mean, every National Guard unit is on a 5-year cycle. Very few of them are like, every 5 years you're going to deploy.
Actually deploying.
Yeah. And I think that's a testament, and you saw it in Ramadi. It's a testament to the type of unit that, the National Vermont Guard produces, 1172 and 3172.
And that's where you're at right now.
Yeah.
So what's the status of the business? So the company's called Spire.
Yeah.
And then the product that you're working on is called Mentor.
Mentor is the software program. Yeah.
And where's it at right now? Like, what's the current status of it?
Testing with ROTC programs. So University of Vermont, Dickinson College, Utah Valley University, and University of Texas El Paso are all working with us right now. Unpaid pilot, beta feedback. The cadets are using it, telling us what they like, what they don't like, and we just fix it as fast as we can and get it right back out to the field as live.
Is it augmented reality right now?
No.
No. So what does it consist of right now?
Now it's just it's a desktop web app, right? So you use either a tablet or a laptop to access the simulator. So you work through the simulator, which are all built on cadet-specific situations, like learning battle drills or going through troop leading procedures. And it puts you in a story, right? Like you're the 3rd platoon leader.
So it's like a video game.
I try not to say like gamified, because I think people automatically think like, oh, it's supposed to be fun. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's fun.
But I'm saying graphically and whatnot, like it's set up like a video game.
It's built in Unity game engine, and my designers that work on the team are game designers. So kind of what we're trying to do with it is make it and meet the audience where they're at, right? Like a lot of these ROTC cadets are like, they're very used to Call of Duty, Baldur's Gate, all these like super popular video games. And so if you can just make this a degree away, much more likely to adopt it.
I'm impressed with video games. I've never really played them, but when I see them, they're freaking impressive. So if you start throwing really good combat leadership dilemmas in there for people. I think it's kind of awesome, actually.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the simulation is the means. It's the vehicle that we use to gather the data on how Echo thinks, reacts, and then eventually where we're going with it, and I was talking about this earlier, right, is that there's a dialogue, a two-way dialogue, right? There's a dialogue between the decision analytics engine and the simulator, so that as I change, grow, and develop, right, the simulations are changing with me. I'm not waiting to, manually select, I want to go to the hard level in Super Mario Kart, right? Like it's automatically giving me the harder level as I get better. And then and this is crucial, right? There's also the dialogue between the simulator, between the decision analytics, the cadet, and their instructor, right? Because we are not taking the human out of the loop here, right? Like usually, like in-person mentorship is the most important part of all of this. What we're trying to do is make it so that instead of you showing up cold and not understanding like what Cadet Fry needs from you, you can go into this data analytics dashboard and go like, I see exactly where he's struggling. And when I come into your office, instead of spending 30 minutes trying to figure it out, like we go right to the chase, right? We're right to it. It's like, hey, I see you're struggling with this. Like, what have you been doing? How can we help you with that, right? So the dialogue between instructor, student, and the digital interface, and then between the student, the digital interface, and the simulator is sort of like the value of what we think we're adding here.
Mm-hmm. But we're still going to need to go in the field sometimes.
Absolutely. All the time.
And speaking of going in the field, just give us a quick brief on that. Edelweiss ski race?
Yeah, Edelweiss raid.
Just give us a quick brief on that, because I read the article, but just for people to hear about what it is and what takes place there.
Yeah, the Edelweiss raid is it's been discontinued. Hopefully they'll start it back up again. But it's that Austria built it as the world championship for military ski mountaineering, hosted by Austria.
That's kind of an awesome.
It's pretty
thing,
sick,
isn't it?
It's pretty sick. Yeah. It's hosted by Austria, and they have this like mountain training site south of Innsbruck, Austria. And this place is like nuts. You drive up and there's stone buildings surrounded by these towering peaks. They've got their own little ski lift there, and then all of it all the rest of it is like human powered like uphill, downhill. So I was at mountain school 2017, 2018, whatever, to Austria, and this Austrian colonel who ran it, and this guy named Colonel Lenner, he comes up to me one day and he's very blunt, and he's like, "Well, I haven't ever seen America and the Edelweiss raid." I'm like, "I don't know, sir, because I don't know what it is." And he goes, "Well, let me explain it to you." So he explains like this, military ski mountaineering race. I'm like, "This sounds amazing. We're going to make this happen." So we're driving back. We got to fly out of Frankfurt. So we're driving up to Wiesbaden, U.S. Army Europe headquarters, and I'm like making PowerPoint slides on this thing in the car. I'm like, I'm going to sell this to somebody before I leave Austria. We walk into U.S. Army Europe headquarters. Long story short, found the right guy, put these slides on his desk, and we're like, "We want to do this." And he's like, "How much did it cost?" And we're like, $50,000. He's like, "Oh, easy, pocket change." Okay, cool. So we train up our first team.
$80,000.
Yeah. Did I say 50? So we train our first team up in 2019. Total bad news bears, right? Like scrapping people from all over the place. There's not a lot of people in the Army that can actually ski, and this is, for the leader or for the listeners who haven't like ski toured before, like what we're talking about here is going uphill on skis, right? And so like your heel is free in your ski, and you put this fuzzy carpet thing on the bottom of it called a skin, and then that allows you to climb uphill on a pretty steep slope. And then this is a 48-hour race, and so we've got a pack with gear, sustainment. You've got your M4 on the side of the pack, right? So the pack weighs like 40 pounds, and they make you carry this sled with you, and that adds some more weight to it. So it's just like, it's not like recreational skiing. You're like, you got a 40-pound pack, and I'm going uphill, and it's awesome and miserable at the same time. So we go in 2019, do a good job. 2021, it was canceled because of COVID, and so 2023, we're like ready to go on this thing. We put together 2 teams and went over and competed. And, it's just the biggest thing for us is, in the end, the Austrians gave us this amazing compliment, because this is a competition, but it's training. Mm-hmm. And at the end, when the guys came up to us and said, like, "Look, we're really proud to have you guys, Americans, here with us, because you clearly understand the purpose of the race, and it's not just about training and winning. it's also about functioning as a team in the mountains and being able to actually do mountain warfare. So, yeah.
How far do you transit during the thing?
Oh gosh, it's like 16, 17, 18 miles a day. And then in total, I want to say it's like 12,000 feet of gain and loss over 2 days. So it's like the first day, you do like 15 miles, like 6,000 feet of gain and loss. You spend the night in a tent, like a bivouac site. And the next day you do the other leg of the course, which is, the other like 12, 13, 14 miles. And then another 6,000 foot gain and loss. And then along the way, you're also doing tactical tasks, right? So there's like rappelling, medical evacuation.
Yeah, there's pictures of you guys shooting.
Yeah, there's like high angle course. You have to shoot and pop balloons, grenade throwing. It's like, it's a tactical tasks interspersed. And, they expect you to have a designated leader. You have to stay together, as a team the entire time. So it really is about like, can you as a squad size element do actual mountain warfare, right? It's not a like go as fast as you can. I mean, it is a race, but like if there's a strategy to it, right? Because if you're just as fast as you can, but you fail all the tactical tasks, you still don't necessarily win.
Right. And do you do skimo now too?
Yeah.
And are you like competitive on that? Is there a recreational world out there that's doing skimo?
Yeah, it's in the Olympics for the first time actually. So Olympic skimo.
You know what this is, Echo Charles?
No.
Bro. So it's like ski mountaineering.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And you're wearing your like your skinning skis, right? So the skis that have the free heel bindings, and you go up the hill. And when I have like gone ski touring doing this right here, I'm like basically at maybe a brisk walk. Maybe it's like equivalent of me being like a brisk walk. It's like a hike, You're just going uphill with skis on. But the skimo guys are like running. It's freaking crazy. And sometimes you get to points where you can't ski up the hill anymore because it's too steep. And then you have to take your skis off, put them in your pack, and just hike up, like run up a freaking hill. Yeah. And then you get to the top of the hill and you ski down, and then you do it over and over again. It's got to be some sick endurance. Like, is that maxing out your endurance?
Yeah. I mean, the guys that are doing it, like those style races are insanely fast. I mean, they're probably, ultra marathoners in the summer and the winter. They just like turn to this. The interesting thing is a lot of them can't actually ski. They're such good shape. Yeah. They're just like, they're really, really good uphillers, and then they survive the downhill. It's also hard because the skis are like as wide as this thing.
Because you wanted the skis to be as light as possible. So they're super skinny. The bindings are like super light.
Yeah. You're not ripping on those things.
But yeah, I was up at Big Sky, Montana, and there was a skimo competition. And those guys, I'd never seen it before with my own eyes. And so the first time I see these guys, I'm expecting in my mind that they're going to be kind of hiking up, and they are freaking running. And I'm like, yo. And then they at Big Sky, Montana, like they come down the Big Couloir, like they come down all the toughest trails on those little skinny skis and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of epic, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a amazing sport. I think the fact that it's in the Olympics is a testament. Like it's growing in popularity. I don't do really like the like real instance of like I'm wearing Lycra and running up the hill as fast as I can. I like the Berger backcountry traverses. So there's one called the Grand Traverse in Colorado. It goes from Crested Butte to Aspen. So it's like 40 miles. I don't remember 40 kilometers. There's a difference. I don't remember. It's a long race that traverses from one to the other, and so there's like avalanche considerations. Some people are doing it on skinny skis, but a lot of people are doing it on fatter skis because you're actually in backcountry terrain. I really like those. And then we're holding a skimo race in Vermont on the 1st of March, and it's like a 10th Mountain Division Memorial Ski Race.
Hell yeah!
So
where are you having it?
It's in Stowe.
Nice.
If you're not a super like 10th Mountain Division nerd, a lot of people don't realize, but Stowe is sort of the epicenter for a lot of ski culture in the U.S. Like not only from a lift standpoint, but this guy named Minnie Dole, he was the inspiration for the National Ski Patrol because he broke his leg on the mountain. He was like, it'd be really nice somebody to come get me out. And so he came out and he organized the National Ski Patrol. And then he was also so stoked on mountains that he was like, this is World War II time frame. He was like, we really need some mountain troops like Europe does. And so he lobbied at Congress and the president until they finally relented and were like, oh, we'll make these mountain troops. And so 10th Mountain Division came from Minnie Dole, who was a Stowe skier. So we're doing what we call like the Stowe Mountain Heritage Race, and it's like really celebrating like 10th Mountain troops, like our battalion, National Ski Patrol, and so it's more like a backcountry race we're going to do. There'll be some Lycra people there, but a lot of it too is just
how far is it going to be?
It's 11 miles and 4,000 feet of gain and loss. Yeah, it's fun.
I was reading something about the mountain patch.
Oh, the Ram's Head?
No, like it's some kind of unauthorized but authorized patch.
That's the Ram's Head. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with that? That's pretty cool history.
That's something generations of mountain school people have been fighting with. So the Guard, when the mountain school was first introduced in like the 80s, they made this, like a distinctive qualification patch of it was a goat or a ram's head. So if you were mountain qualified, you got to wear the ram's head. So it was a National Guard thing. But people that went to the school were like so stoked on this ram's head that, they started wearing it. And the Army, of course, was like, that's not an authorized patch. You can't wear that. And which people would like secretly wear it.
Angry Nate just came back out.
Yeah. It's like, don't mess with my ram's head. But so the Army was like, no way, you can't wear this thing. And so over decades, like generations of mountain school commanders have been working with the Army to try to get it like formalized. So it finally got formalized earlier this year. And my friends who are working at mountain school, and it's just a testament to branding, right? He's like, dude, our wait list went from like 15 people to class to like 50 people to class. Dang. Because now you can wear this, you can wear your bling bling, and people are like, I want that bling. So so everyone's stoked on mountain school now. Because
how long is the school, the actual school?
The basic course is 2 weeks. And then there's an advanced course that you can do after that, which is a 2-week summer and 2-week winter. So the basic course is either summer or winter. And then the advanced course is you got to do 2 weeks in the summer and 2 weeks in the winter. So you learn how to ice climb and rock climb.
Do you get the ram's head for the basic
course?
The basic one,
for the basic course.
A 2-week course, you get that bling.
Get the bling. That's all you got to do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, does that get us up to speed? We talked about your current position. You talked about Spire. We got Mentor coming on. Does that get us up to speed?
I think so.
Did we cover all the bases?
Story of my life.
Where can people find you? So I know you got SpireTG.com. What does the TG stand for?
Training group.
Okay, so you got SpireTG.com. It's a relatively barren website right now, but people will be listening to this 5 years from now, so hopefully by then it's a lot more. You're on LinkedIn. Yep. Nathan Fry, Vermont National Guard. Where else can people find you? Anywhere else?
Check out the Mountain Battalion Insta.
Okay.
So we're at Mountain Battalion. It's pretty easy to find. We try to post in there as much as we can.
Check out the gram. Right on.
The kids. I got a bunch of young kids in the battalion. They do the gram for me. So.
Yeah, well, get the word out. I mean, it's like you said, it's a hidden secret, but it's such a important part of the military. And I before we hit record today, I started telling you a little bit about like the SEAL team and the SEAL Team 2 back in the day. They had like a huge focus on mountain warfare, and they were like awesome. I showed up there kind of too late for that because I was at SEAL Team 1 when I got out there, but there were still the remnants of the Yukon platoons that were skiing, and it was pretty awesome heritage. And I think they're kind of bringing it back now, which is awesome because that's where we could possibly be fighting in the future. So I'm glad that you guys are getting the word out about what we have to offer here in America. That's awesome. Echo Charles.
Yeah.
You got any questions?
I do. One easy one. You actually will have somewhat of an expertise on this. Okay, so playing the bass guitar back in the day. You mentioned power chords.
Yeah.
Learn a few power chords. I don't think I've ever heard that before. What's a power chord?
It's like basically a sequence of super easy chords that you go through. It's like basically any punk rock and or Nickelback song. It's just a progression of like, and then you just put them together and let them rip.
They can make all kinds of songs with it.
You can make basically any song.
Yeah.
The structure of any song you can play with just power chords, and power chords essentially is 2 notes at a time. On a guitar, it's 2 notes at a time. Really, on a bass,
it's one.
It's just one note. It's just you're playing one note, unless you're Lemmy from Motorhead, and then you're playing 2. He kind of plays power chords. Or Harley Flanagan, he plays some power chords on the bass. But most people, it's one note. That's why a brother like Nate, who has no musical experience, or Jocko, when I was in high school, no musical experience. Guess what you're going to be? Bass / singer. And so, because they can literally go, hey, put your finger here, bum, 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 bum. bum, bum. And you can just do that over and over again. You're a bass player.
Okay.
And I got into trouble. Probably the most controversial thing I've ever said on Twitter was I said, if you can play guitar, you can play bass. It doesn't go backwards, right. But if you can play guitar, you can definitely play bass. But then there's people like, they attacked me because being able to play bass isn't being able to necessarily play bass. You're not going to be
slap bass,
Les Claypool or Flea or Harley Flanagan or Lemmy. Like, you're not going to be there. Cliff Burton, you're not going to be there. But you could make the noise, and you could be a bass player. If you can play guitar. That's all I was saying. I'm not trying to take anything away from my people. I'm not taking anything away from Nate. Maybe you were a really good bassist.
Nate was not a good bassist. No.
But
that's why I played Blink-182 and Offspring.
Yeah, there you go. You could just make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, can you like tell me what's a cool power chord that I can bring back home and kind of rip on?
Well, it's literally on a bass. It's one note.
That's it.
That's it. It's like
EADG.
one note.
EADG.
Something like
Perfect.
that.
Well, that's a chord progression.
Yeah, but that's a power chord, right?
No, a power chord is one note.
It's just one of them, like E. Like
E is the power chord.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you pick up a bass guitar right now and the big fat string on top and you just go boom,
power chord.
That's an E.
All day.
Yeah.
All day.
We're not talking like sharps and flats, right? So like this is like it's a plain old note like in the chord scale progression without any sharps and flats on it. Like there's no nuance to it. It's just like it's power. It's power.
Power.
Like, just go.
Day. Okay. So you said EADG.
Yeah.
What's that? Chord progression.
Chord progression.
Yeah. Okay. So are there different combos or chord progressions?
Oh,
that are
sure.
like kind of dope.
That's called the song, bro.
Yeah, but okay, I guess.
But yeah, and then there's like happy ones.
Yeah.
Like a D is kind of like a happy sounding noise.
See, now you're talking. Okay.
And like a E.
So what's EADG? Is that happy? Is that sad? Or is that mad? Or is there a mad one?
That's kind of a nice one.
Yeah.
That's kind of
That's Blink-182. If you like Blink-182, you're there.
Hell yeah. I like Blink-182. Okay. All right. Good day. This is a good start.
You gonna get back on that ukulele or what?
Maybe.
Okay.
I got into digital. That's why.
Okay, got it.
And this stuff kind of starts to apply the roots.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
All right. I'm gonna look into it. Thanks for that. Good to meet you.
Any other questions? That's it.
No, that's it.
Right on, Nate.
Good.
Any closing thoughts, bro?
Just stoked you guys had me out and talk a little bit about where we're trying to go with like the future Army training. I think it's just like maybe two takeaways for they're listening on. Number one is like mistakes are okay, right? Like I'm evidence of like you can make enough mistakes at a certain point you actually bludgeon your way through and realize like I can reform and change and recover and it really comes down to mentorship. Having somebody who sees you, invest in you, and willing to say like, okay, let's brush this dust off and turn the lump of coal into a diamond, and then from that moving into like, what do I think the Army needs? What do I think the society needs right now? More people invest in other people, right? Like all the hardware in the world, ships, unmanned aerial systems, drones, data analytics, from companies like Palantir, all good stuff. Like we need all of it. Rebuild the arsenal of American democracy, absolutely. We also need to build like the complexity of the American leadership mind. Right. Like, and that doesn't come overnight. It comes through mistakes. It comes through reps. It comes through sets. It comes through vulnerability. All the stuff you talk about on this show. Like it's not hype. It's the real thing. So
leadership is the most important thing on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt about it. So awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing these experiences. I know it was like, what did you say? You wanted to be very brutally transparent. So I appreciate you doing that. Yeah. So many people, hopefully they'll keep that thought in their mind. The lessons that you learned and that you shared with us today is awesome. So thanks for those. Thanks for your service. And a salute to the National Guard with a solemn gratitude to the brave soldiers of the 1172, the Vermont National Guard. Mm-hmm. Those guys they fought so valiantly in Ramadi. And like I said, they kept our guys alive with the turnover. That we were only on the ground with them for like around a month, but the turnover they gave us was just great. So we'll never forget those guys. And thanks to the National Guard. And thanks, Nate, for coming out, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And with that, Nathan Fry has left the building. He's got to go back to his job as a battalion commander, getting after it. Also, sounds like he's doing that ski-mo up in Vermont. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. I'm telling you, if you watch this stuff, I'm going to go watch it on the Olympics. Mm-hmm. It is hardcore endurance activities. Yeah. Hardcore. Oh, yeah. These guys are running up hills on skis with a pack on.
How far is the hill? The whole hill.
Yeah, the whole hill. Yeah, thousands of feet of vertical climb. So it's cool. You know, it's especially if you've climbed hills. Like when you're in the military and you have to walk up hills, you hump up hills. It totally changes you the way that you visually understand a hill. Yeah. Like even when I'm driving through the mountains, I'm not kidding. Every mountain that I look at, I go, it looks like that one looks rough. That's a rough one right there. Hate to that's gonna take it out of you. Hate to walk up that thing. That's a tough one. Get that thing done. I'm not kidding. When I drive through the Sierra Mountains, every single mountain that I see, I assess it, and I go, damn, because going uphill is really hard. So ski-mo is going uphill on skis, and you get to come down, have a little bit of fun. Yeah, but it's no joke. I kind of want to get into it. It's a little. Living down here, it's a little bit tricky. Yeah. And like I said, I'll go out and do like just the back country where you're kind of just walking. Yeah. Maybe an elevated walk, like a little bit of speed, but like as far as, hey, I'm gonna race, I'm not there yet. No, I'm not there. Yeah, that will require a lot of training. Yep. A lot of training. And training is what we're doing. And listen, when you're training, you're gonna need fuel. We strongly recommend Jocko Fuel. All kinds of things that you need, whether you need protein, whether you need hydration, whether you need energy, whether you need joint supplementation, whether you need greens, whatever you need, we got you covered. We even have a new Pro Series out that is just next level. The kind where, look, it's more expensive because it's a lot more expensive for us to produce it. But like the protein has beef protein isolate, like it's very high end, as high end as we could possibly make it. There's something called Muscle Drive, which again, these are the kind of things where that one is kind of made we didn't make it specifically for this, but listen, we got people cutting weight, right? In our game, whether it's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, fighting, and being able to preserve your muscle when you're on a calorie deficit is something that's very important. But also, just what about the times of the day where you don't have the ability to eat for whatever reason? This stuff's awesome. So that's Muscle Drive. And then we made a pre-workout that is like kind of psychotic. You know, it's like a full pre-workout. The full pre-workout. You know, for someone that needs a full pre-workout to go crazy and psychotic. So we got anyways, check that out. That's the Pro Series at Jocko Fuel. And then we've got like the standard issue, which by the way, the standard issue is way above the standard. But that's what we got going on. If you need anything, check out jockofuel.com or go to whatever store you go to, whether you go to Walmart, HEB, Wegmans, no matter where you go, Myers, we're just everywhere. Hy-Vee. We got so many retail places now. You can generally find it where you go. Jocko Fuel. Get it there, or jockofuel.com. Also, we're training, and we're from New England, like the 10th Mountain, or like the 1172 or the 3172. These are New England people. And guess what else we do in New England? We make clothing. OriginUSA.com. Not just New England, by the way. We got factories down in North Carolina as well. But this is clothing that's made 100% in America. 100% American-made clothing. Jeans, boots, hoodies, jiu-jitsu. You and I are about to go train, apparently. Do you have a rash guard with you?
Yes.
I do too. And guess what? My rash guard is 100% made in America.
So is mine.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. So we want to train. We want to train in American-made goods. We want to work. We want to work in American-made goods. We want to relax. We want to relax in 100% American-made goods. Made from American materials. Check it out. OriginUSA.com. Get some.
It's true. Also, JockoStore.com. We're representing. We're on the path. As far as the clothing that we wear, we want to exude our identity into the world, which is discipline. Anyway, discipline equals freedom shirts, hats. We've got some hoodies on there. Got some rash guards. New rash guard coming out, by the way.
Check.
Deaf core to the core.
Oh,
rash guard. Discipline equals freedom.
You are wearing a SOG support shirt.
Yes.
Expand on that for me, because that is a black on black shirt, which I must say is about as legit as it gets.
It is.
I
agree
ordered
with
one.
you. Yes. So yeah. SOG support. So there's two little parts to this whole thing. So SOG support. I can't be just busting out a SOG shirt.
No.
You know this about me.
Yeah.
I was not in SOG.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Nor was I.
Yeah.
And therefore, I will not wear SOG material.
Yeah.
As if I was in SOG.
Right.
Look, I was in the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
I had a guy one time ask me on Twitter, like, hey, I wasn't in the SEAL teams, but I, really respect what you guys do. Is it okay to wear a trident?
Yeah.
And I responded, I was in the SEAL teams for 20 years, and I don't wear a trident out in public.
Yeah.
So that's like, stolen valor activity, right?
It's what it feels. Yeah.
And so the SOG, like we want to spread the message of SOG.
Oh yeah.
That's why we support the SOG cast.
Oh yeah.
With Tilt, John Strykermeyer.
Oh yeah.
And he's had freaking unbelievable interviews with so many people.
Yep.
So many SOG guys, the SOG Air guys. I mean, it's capturing one of the most profound eras of heroism in the history of the United States of America. That's what SOG is. Mm-hmm. Now, am I going to put on the SOG symbol and just walk around in the clear? Hell no, not doing it.
I kind of wanted to.
You did want to.
Yeah.
I had to veto it.
Yeah.
Well, I had to make an addendum.
Yes.
And the addendum was support. Perfect. Right? And this is something like there's various organizations in America where if you were to wear their symbol on its own, you would have it removed. You're not allowed to wear it. But if you have their symbol and you clarify that you are just support, you're good. It's all good. We get it. You support it. Yeah. So we have the SOG support shirt.
Yeah. SOG
no
shirts,
stolen valor. We weren't in SOG, but we damn sure support SOG.
Oh yeah, and we want to represent, the whole thing. Plus, we love Tilt. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So
all of them. Who else? Dick Thompson, the Frenchman. We go down the list. Go down the list. Every one of these guys.
Yep.
So
the whole deal.
SOG support. So where do we get the SOG support clothing?
SOGlegacy.com.
SOGlegacy.com.
You can get just a few of them, but yes, the black on black, very symbolic because it was a secret war.
Yeah, it's Black Ops, bro. OG.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So yeah, that one came out good. We have a regular one though for guys representing in the clear, which is cool. Of course, all day. And then there's like a basic, we might call a standard issue one.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. But
in the clear.
Yep.
You like that phrase?
Yes.
I forget when I said that for the first time. You were like,
good.
okay. You latched right on.
Yeah,
it was actually one of my platoon chiefs when I was a platoon commander.
Yeah.
And he was the first person that really used that well.
So good.
It was like just I forget what was happening, but like the commanding officer was there or something, and he comes up to me, he goes, yeah, one of the guys just in the clear to the commanding officer, just in the clear. I'm like, okay.
Bro, it's the best.
Yeah.
I say it at home with my kids, and they'll pick up on what it means, so now it's just going to be part of their vocabulary.
Yeah.
Very proud
You know
of
where
that.
it comes from, actually?
In the clear. No.
I'll tell you. So when you're talking on the radio, the military radio goes through an encryption device. And the encryption device changes your voice into gobbledygook. And then when it gets received on the other side, it gets unencrypted and you hear it in English.
I understand.
But sometimes there's something wrong with the crypto device.
Okay, so it's just coming through.
And so you got to go, hey, pass in the clear. Which it's kind of a risky thing because you're giving away some piece of information, right?
Everybody can hear.
Everybody can hear
it
in the clear. So that's where in the clear comes from. But the way it lands in kind of normal interaction, it lands very well.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. Perfect. Good stuff.
So SOGlegacy.com. That's where you can get the SOG representation shirt support. SOG support, we'll call them. But Jocko store, that's discipline equals freedom. That's good. We saw the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Head coach, sort of kind of shouting it out. See what I'm saying?
Straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Player
got injured in practice. Good.
Very useful. Yeah. Very good mindset.
Attitude to have.
Good attitude. So yeah, you can represent that as well. There's Get After It. We have a new Get After It shirt, by the way.
Okay.
There's a little history behind that.
Was that the tape one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know why, right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. But yeah, it's a good one. Brand new. The Shirt Locker underway subscription scenario, new design every month. Some new designs on that one just came out. Pretty solid. This one, actually, I'm gonna tell you what it is. Tell me what you think. So you know how a ransom note, the traditional, the one you cut out from a newspaper or a magazine and stuff like that, but it's called like a ransom note. It's like that.
Yeah.
So
what does it say?
Discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, I'll check.
Just to let you know.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Doesn't matter who sent it. Factual. See what I'm saying?
There you go.
I don't know. Anyway, it's all on jockostore.com.
So check that out. Also, we got a bunch of books. We got Put Your Legs On by Rob Jones. We got Dave Burke, Need to Lead. We got a bunch of books that I've written. We got Things My Brother Used to Say by Ryan Mannion. So check out the books wherever you buy books. Also, Echelon Front, we have a leadership consultancy you heard me talking about today. It's what we do. ExtremeOwnership.com. Some of the skills that I talked about of leadership, you can improve them online. Training, asking questions, going through courses. You can continually put this stuff into your brain, and you will pick up on it over time. That's what we're doing. Also, if you have or you want to help service members, active and retired, you want to help their families, you want to help Gold Star families, check out Mark Lee's mom, Mama Lee. She's got a charity organization. It's absolutely incredible. If you want to donate or you want to get involved, go to americasmightywarriors.org. Also, check out heroesandhorses.org. And then finally, Jimmy May's organization, beyondthebrotherhood.org. If you want to check out Nathan Fry, you can go to his LinkedIn. It's at Nathan Fry with the National Guard. And then also spiretg.com. And finally, he also the Vermont National Guard. It's the 3172 Mountain. You can find their Instagram as well and follow that. And thanks once again to Nathan Fry for joining us. Man, we got some good lessons to learn from him, And as usual, you don't get the great lesson learned when you do the perfect thing. You do it. You get the great lesson learned when you make a mistake and you learn from it. And he definitely shared a lot of those with us today. So appreciate that a lot. And thanks again to the soldiers of the Vermont National Guard and the National Guard around the whole country. We appreciate everything that you have done and that you continue to do for America. Also, thanks to our entire military staged around the globe right now to protect freedom and our way of life. We thank you all for your service. Also, thanks to our police, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, correctional officers, Border Patrol, Secret Service, as well as all other first responders. Thank you for your service here on the home front. And to everyone else out there, there's a creed of the 172nd. It's known as the Mountain Creed, and it breaks a bunch of stuff down, but I'm just going to give one little section of it. It says, quote, "Always will I keep my equipment and myself ready for whatever tasks I may be given. The sheer nature of my unit's mission requires that I maintain my equipment and master its capabilities and employment. My brother soldiers and countrymen count on my ability to shoot better, climb higher, ski farther, and fight with more cunning and aggression than any enemy I may face." End quote. So, whatever task you may be given, be ready. And that means you have to get up every day and get after it. And that's all we've got for tonight. And until next time, this is Echo and Jocko. Out.